Well, Dave, we almost got it. I didn't realize I didn't have this on record until about 15 seconds in or 20 seconds. But you know, I'm sure you can pick up just the ambient noise of my voice, my radio voice, as they always told me. It didn't do me much good, but at least they tell me I have a radio voice.
Oh, gosh, the baritone.
Yeah. You know, it's so funny how you can have natural God-given attributes.
Yeah.
And they're nothing, you know, you never think about it because it's you. You've been that way all your life and everything, but other people say, oh, did you know you have the most beautiful eyes?
Yeah.
Did you know your voice, your hair, your smell, you know, and to you was just my soap I showered with. It's just my natural hair until you lose it, you know, and whatever, you know.
Do you remember that homeless guy about 10 years ago, maybe 15? And that man on the street interview, and he had this rich voice. And I said, man, you need to be on radio.
America's Got Talent.
I forget what it was. Yeah. I mean, just homeless vagabond, but boy, did he have a beautiful voice for radio. Sound over
to dream the impossible dream.
And you know, I think it helps you get elected as a politician. I mean, the only thing James Langford has going for him is his baritone voice. And Josh Hawley's even deeper.
Now, but Josh's voice doesn't, I'm sorry. Nothing about Josh Hawley offends me. Mm-hmm. I think Josh has the whole package. He is one of the most intelligent and direct people to me in the Senate. I mean, when you hear him talk, do you remember the old, was it Edward something? Oh, E.F. Hutton.
Yes.
When E.F. Hutton speaks, the world listens. Everybody listens.
That was a 70s thing. It was huge.
Yeah, it was. But I think Josh Hawley is the guy, when he speaks, I listen because I know there's some things I don't agree with him. You can't, which is to his credit.
He's pretty much a pro-union guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's a lot of he disagrees with Trump on a few things.
Very populist himself.
But the things it reminds me of an old saying attributed to St. Augustine, but others say that it was Thomas Aquinas later on. Okay. But it was our motto for Youth with a Mission when we were missionaries, because we had in our mission, we had Catholics, Protestants, Pentecostals, you name it, the whole gamut. You know, the only thing we didn't have is Unitarians, because they basically don't believe in hell, heaven and hell.
But they're sure of it.
Yeah. But you name the general denominations, and they were in. You'll find them in YWAM, for the mission. But anyway, and the motto was, in the essentials unity, in the non-essentials diversity, but in all things love.
Yes.
And it's something, I mean, we're taught the first day that you're in a discipleship training school. That's your, one of the things, and you don't have to, but you should write it down. So it's not that hard to remember, but still, in the essentials unity and in the non-essentials diversity, but in all things love. And so we were with the 11 years, and we had all manner of people to come work with us.
Even Kate Bush fans.
I became a Kate Bush fan through. But anyway, but I don't remember ever getting into an argument over politics, religion, because it just didn't come up.
Now, parenting was another issue, though. There's some pretty whacked up views on parenting.
Yeah, I did have one issue with one parent who didn't like the way I was disciplining my son.
Well, that's discipline. That's hitting kids. And he's hitting his kids.
Here's what's funny. It was a literal woodshed.
Yeah.
It was a literal woodshed. I didn't, but because I drug him into the woodshed, and this guy, and he came back crying, my son, This guy tried to tell me I should not do this in public. But here's the rule. Here's the rule on that. If the child offends you in public, you punish them in public.
Yeah.
That teaches them not to do that in public.
Or Talitha will, right? Didn't she smack one of the kids?
No.
So what was it that she was a part of?
There was this other girl that was trying to beat up her brother. Because she was one of these kids that whatever other kids were on, that was hers.
Oh, yeah. The selfish kid.
Right. So she got up and went to this other toy out there. They were like 2 or 3 years. I think Talitha was 4 at the time. Our son was 2 and the girl was 3, I guess, somewhere in between. But anyway, so he decided he was going to get on this little horse or something. And the girl, she was on something else, but she didn't want him on that. Yeah. So she said, get up. And I yelled at Talitha. I just pointed.
Oh, you like Talitha knew your work.
I wasn't going to hit somebody else's. Right. Oh, and they were our next door neighbors. We lived in these bungalows and they were right. And the parents, we were sitting outside and the mother of the other child, the girl, was sitting next to my wife. And so I said, Talitha. So Talitha runs over and plants herself just like a statue in front of her brother. And this girl starts screaming, yelling, and grabbing her and trying to push her out of the way. And out of nowhere, Talitha just smacked her as hard as she could across the face. And it was one of those delayed reaction where she went. She started screaming and running to her mother, you know, because no one had ever dared to cross Renska. Renska was her name, a Dutch girl, but it's a Russian name, Renska. So anyway, so Renska goes running to her mother and her mother. And so I'm worried now, we've blown it up with our neighbor or whatever. And instead, the lady says, the mom says, she had every right to slap you because you were being greedy and obnoxious.
And assaulted her.
And so anyway, and then later, the mom came to us. Oh, thank your daughter. She needed that. So, but here's what's funny. Then in YWAM in particular, and some other organizations, you have a pecking order of leadership, different levels. And in our community, we had a community that was about a mile away than ours. But anyway, in our community, the leader, the wife of the leader, who was also Dutch, she saw it and she said, oh, your daughter should not have done that. We need to love Renska. we need to love Renska. And I wanted to just say, well, she just loved her. She just loved her across the face, you know. But it's funny that the mother recognized that her daughter needed that, and then some other lady felt that she didn't. So,
you know, I had a situation.
Oh, by the way, I will tell you this. Talitha slapped her into missionhood.
Oh, boy. How about that?
That girl is now a missionary in Tanzania.
You see, he who spares the rod hates his child, Proverbs says. But I tell you, I was like 10, 12 years old, and we had renters next door, some biker chip mama whose baby daddy never married her. She's raising a boy who's about 8. And some kid, I think it was his classmate, was riding a bike by, and they started mouthing each other. And the boy gets off his bike, you know, comes up to him right out on the boulevard, kind of between the sidewalk and the curb, right? And they get, you know, really hostile. And all of a sudden they start shoving. And the mama comes out, said, get him, Dennis. Hit him hard. He deserves it. The brat, you know, and they start fighting. Well, I called the police. I'm 12 years old, and I'm seeing a physical altercation.
You're 12 years old and called the police?
I did.
Oh, that's funny.
And the police showed up. And, of course, you know, they stopped fighting as soon as they see the squad car coming down the street. And the police, you know, come up and trying to referee between two boys, you know. And I said, it started when Dennis's mother came out and said, beat the crap out of him. He's got it coming. And the cop turns and looks at this, woman who's single mom. Mm-hmm. Really? Is that what passes for parenthood in your family? Mm-hmm. And she got investigated by Child Protective Services. And
you snitch, you little snitch.
I did. But you know what? I mean, I'm sorry, that does not pass muster to me. Yeah. It's good parenting.
Yeah. There's this feeling, it's been around for a while, somehow that physical altercations are evil or bad.
Yeah.
And my best friend in life ever, still today, at 70 some years later, my best friend and I met on the street and we fought. Mm-hmm. I had just moved to this I may have told this story.
This was Philly, right?
No, this was in Germany.
Oh, okay.
So we moved to town.
Oh, that's right.
And here I am walking outside of where we were living, and I'm standing on the street, just standing there, and here comes this I think I did tell this, a little biker gang, 4 and 5 year old bikers. They were on these bicycles and they come riding up, and they're looking at me, trying to figure me out. And so the one guy says to me, "Man, you're black. Why are you so black?" And I said, "Yeah, what of it?" Kind of in German, yeah, of course. What of it? And so he gets off his bike and we start pushing. Next thing I know, we're scuffling, and I just start beating this kid in the brain. Of course, he and the rest of them jump on their bikes and take off.
Oh,
that evening, all of a sudden, a couple hours later, actually, the door knocks. Mm-hmm. Oh no! So I run to my room and hide,
like every little kid does.
Yeah, and so I'm 5 years old. Yeah, I'm 5 years old. Yeah, and so I'll never forget this. I can picture it just like it was this morning. But anyway, and the lady says, "Hello, we live across the street down the road. Do you have a little boy here?" And Mama, yeah. And she said, "Eddie, come out here." And so I go crawling out, and I'm looking, and here this kid I had just beaten to a pulp, peeking around his mom. Mm-hmm. And I think, oh, I am in trouble, And then what is I think I had a hard time last time because I start crying sometimes when I tell this story. Mm-hmm. But he peeks around his mom, and his mom says, "All right, go ahead. What do you say?" And she made him apologize to me. And so shake hands. So we sat there and shook hands. From that day, we were inseparable.
How about that?
And his parents were farmers, potato farmers.
Okay.
And so in the summertime, American school always got out as we do a month. Germans only get 6 weeks of summer school. Mm-hmm. Summer vacation. Mm-hmm. We get our 3 months. So, what would happen in the summer when school was out, I would ride up to his house, leave my bicycle, and then ride out to the potato farm and play or work with them, help them. Sometimes they had me at 5 years old. I'm driving a tractor.
Yeah.
They taught me how to drive a tractor.
And those weren't easy to drive tractors either.
Had a clutch.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I'm there. I couldn't sit down. I had to stand up and do all of everything. But
just pressing that clutch down took some weight.
Yeah. And anyway, so but what would happen? Then he'd get out of school because they only go to school till noon. Mm-hmm. Germans still today they only go from 9 to noon, and or 8 to noon. So I think it's 4 hours a day. But anyway, so then he gets my bike and he rides out to the farm area, and then he and I would play the rest of the afternoon. I don't know what we did. We just ran around out there chasing, finding mice.
Hey, farms are fun, man.
Right. Oh yeah. And then in the evening when loaded up. And I think they must have had hay too, because I remember they would throw my bike on top of the hay, and then we'd climb up there and we would ride on top of the hay back behind the tractor and the trailer to their in town.
So it was just loose hay. It wasn't bales, huh?
Right. No, yeah, it was just loose. Yeah. And so anyway, but literally we did that all the time. And so what was happening, this was actually kind of one of these Nazi stronghold areas and near Munich. And I had these kids one time, they saw us out there and then they started yelling at me, calling me the German word for nigger and all that. And they just picked the wrong time to do it, because Reinhardt's brothers, who were older, they were probably
Reinhard. Now that's a German name.
Yeah, they were about 6 years older than him, and they heard him and they went right to him, said, "If you ever say or do anything again against my brother's
yeah, your own gang,
you're done." And you should have seen these kids were just terrified, because Reinhardt's brothers were some tough kids, you know. But so I never had another problem, and I was, as I can tell, I was the only black thing in the whole town. It was a little bitty German village.
But you weren't the scrawniest either, because you beat the snot out of this kid, the farmer's kid.
Yeah, I don't know if I was that tough or anything. I was just probably mean.
Well,
they told me I was kind of mean, and I just let it go. It
ain't the size of the dog in the fight; yeah, it's the size of the fight in the dog.
That's how the. But anyway, he became and still remains today, and so my wife and I went to Germany about 15, 20 years ago, and back to that village there, and saw him and his wife. And his wife said, "I couldn't wait to meet you, because he still talks about you."
How about that?
And that was like 40 years later.
Wow.
And Reinhardt's still talking about you, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, like I said, it was one of those interesting things.
Yeah.
And now I don't remember how I got
Well, we
there.
were talking about senators, and I got to tell you, Josh Hawley's not my favorite senator from Missouri. Eric Schmidt is. I put Eric Schmidt against any of them to be the next nominee for president.
Really?
I think he's that solid of a guy.
Here's the problem. I don't think he's good looking enough.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have the clout or stroke that. And I'm just telling it like it is, because you either have to be handsome and get the ladies' vote that way with some a little substance, unless you're a Democrat, or you have to really offer something no one else is offering or has offered. And Eric Schmidt, I just don't think has either one of those attributes enough to make him presidential material. Right now, I think my early prediction and pick would be Marco Rubio, because Marco, every time he gets on television, he just nails it. Whatever it is, he nails it.
I think he's better at this job than he was as a senator. And he wasn't a bad senator either.
Well, I think the reason he is better at this job than senator is because he now has more opportunity to actually express what he's been thinking all along.
Well, and more opportunities to put your foot in your mouth or, screw up. And he has not screwed up anything.
No. Exactly.
I mean, think of it early on. He renegotiated the Panama Canal situation. Somebody said last week in the news that Venezuela is being run from Marco's office in the State Department. He has that much ability. Again, he speaks the language. That helps a lot.
Yeah.
No interpreters involved here. And I think they trust him as a fellow. Yeah. I know Cubans don't want to be called Latinos, but,
You mean Venezuelans? Those either.
I'm sorry. No, well, I'm talking about the Cuban people don't like to be referred to as Latinos.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Even though they speak Cuban. The same language. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The same as black people don't like to be called colored, and colored people don't like to be called black. No, I'm just I'm joking there. But,
I know George Carlin joked. Remember last year about people of color just means colored people.
Yeah, right, exactly. But no, I think Marco is just, he knows what to say at the time to say it. And I don't think there's anyone as eloquent as simply, and you can feel the passion when he speaks. In other words, there is no, as the Bible said, no guile.
Yeah.
What you see is what you get. Right. And if he's upset, he expresses that. If he's kind of putting you on, you can tell that.
Yeah. So NATO does an annual conference in Germany. And remember, J.D. Vance went over there right away and shook the place up, and they just about crapped their pants when J.D. was done speaking. Marco went back a year later, gave essentially the same talking points to a standing ovation of everyone. Marco just has those skills diplomatically.
Yeah. So that's why I don't think J.D. will ever be president. And it's not that I don't want him to be president. I wouldn't mind having him. Mm-hmm. Of course, I'm a fan because his movie, the movie of his life story,
the book. You told me about him before I'd ever heard of the guy.
Yeah,
you'd read his book
and the movie on Netflix.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's still on there or not, but Hillbilly
Elegy.
Hillbilly Elegy. Mm-hmm. If you haven't seen it, you should see it. But anyway, it's just some people just have that gifting. I think Marco has that gifting. Hey, let's move on to some local current news. We'll get to the local a little later. Mm-hmm. This anti-Israel sentiment that is so prevalent. Yeah. There's actually two issues here that I have to bring up today that I want to focus on. One is the socialization of America, that America in these urban areas and places you wouldn't suspect are starting to turn to socialists to lead them. And the latest is this, the governor of Colorado. And I'm sorry, the governor is a Democrat, but he is fighting within his own party.
He's calling them out on this socialism.
Right. He's got this Arab lady who I'm pretty sure she's a congressperson or either. Oh no, I know she just won the Democratic primary to be the congressional representative for Colorado.
Okay, Jared Polis is the Democrat governor.
Right.
He's in his second 4-year term. Right. So
anyway, but what you're seeing is these representatives for these areas of various states that are turning to socialism. And this one also is not, here's the New Deal. And this is what's so weird. Okay. I think Muslims have figured out the way to take over America. Mm-hmm. They're pretending to be socialists. I don't believe they really are socialists at heart. In fact, I can guarantee you they're not. But they figured a way to get in by appealing to the left. So the socialist segment of the Democrat Party is just so gullible and so ready to embrace anything that speaks their name or speaks their language. They support it. The prime example of that is Mamdani, who is now the mayor of New York. But you're seeing these Islamic people win elections all over the country. Mm-hmm. It's spreading and spreading. I think we're getting like London. London has 11 mayors. Mayors of the 11 largest cities in England are Islamic and socialist. Mm-hmm. And I think they figured out how to do this because the education departments in our schools and our nation under Democratic leadership has bought into this idea of socialism. Mm-hmm. And they try to couch it in anti-capitalism because capitalism is evil. Well, what's the alternative? It's either socialism or it's outright communism, which there's a hair's breadth between them, okay?
It's by degrees, yeah.
So, but this is what's happening now. I think that Muslims are using the Trojan horse of socialism. Both of them are bad, but Islam is worse, okay? But they figured out how to infiltrate and slowly take over. You hear about the neo-Nazis in Germany, neo-Nazism, okay, which is coming from East Germany because under the Russian rule, when they were liberated and became one nation again, you had these people. And so, and I'm speaking honest, I'm speaking from experience, okay? The Nazis are not racist. They're nationalists.
Yep.
And so the problem, and this is what the Democrats and liberals and progressives had done for decades and decades, they take a word and turn it, okay, and make it mean something it's not. Nationalism, okay? When you hear Christian nationalism, right, you're probably already there. You weren't.
Yeah, I know.
You're starting to see in various articles.
Christian nationalism bad. Buddhist nationalism's good though. Hindu nationalism's good.
Islamic nationalism.
Yeah, that's all good.
It's all good. But Christian nationalism, and then essentially nationalism. But so that's what they've done. So the Muslims have figured out, this is the way we can get to the academia, to the people, the young people in America. We start pretending to be socialists, get them away from capitalist, from nationalism. They won't defend their own country because that's nationalistic.
Right.
So
the alternative to nationalism is globalism. Yeah.
One world government.
So, in borders, why that just reminds us that we're nations.
Right. And what kind of government, though? See, that's the question that no one asks.
That's it. Deals with. Now, Eddie, let's go back in time. You and I have lived long enough. We remember what we were taught back in the mid-20th centuries about that what led to World War I and World War II was hyper-nationalism. It's that kind of thumping our chests kind of mindset. And we're taught that it's a bad thing, and we remember we grew up at a time when our teachers celebrated the United Nations and the end of all wars, right. And this is the problem we have here. What to me was one of our greatest cultural achievements of 2026 was the FIFA World Cup, particularly the opening ceremonies. When you saw those soccer players standing with full-throated energy singing their national anthems.
Except for the Americans.
Exactly. What we got schooled in is there's people who are proud to wear that jersey for their nation. And you know what? Many of them went further than the United States did in their sports because it wasn't just about their career. It's about representing their nation. Yeah,
it is. And you got Megan Rapinoe, who's kneeling for the national anthem in London because America is such a racist country and so forth. And she's standing for the national anthem of the United Kingdom.
And the NFL did the same thing at Wembley Stadium.
Right, exactly. And they're standing for God Save the Queen, whose grandfathers were the people sending slaves to America.
Yeah.
They were running the country when America was a slave nation. It was when we got our independence that we put that into the Declaration of Independence that all men are created equal.
Yeah. Think about you couldn't script this any better. It was back in, 2018, where at Wembley Stadium, the New England, remember, used to be called the Boston Patriots, were playing against the Baltimore Ravens, i.e. Fort McKinley, i.e. Francis Scott Key, Star Spangled Banner. And all those players kneeling when it comes time to stand for the United States, Patriots in Baltimore, but standing to honor the crown of England.
Right, right.
You couldn't script it any more pathetic.
Yeah, I mean, that shows how stupid these people are.
Very, very.
And they're not paying attention. They've been herded like sheep or cattle. And as dumb sheep are some of the dumbest animals out there. And that's exactly what they are and how they are. To follow this kind of thing and not think about it.
Yeah.
For example, I'll just throw this in real quick. So I'm on this Texas Tech chat board.
Okay.
And there's this issue. There was a black girl. I don't think she's really black. I think she's biracial. She's lighter than me. She just looks like she's mixed. But anyway, so there was a Charlie Kirk, what is it?
Turning Point
USA. They have these representatives, college campus all around. So they have, when you go there's a square where people can make speeches, do whatever.
The free speech zone.
Right, the free speech zone. And then they have,
which means the rest of the campus is not free speech.
yeah. So they have literature that you can get. And so anyway, so this girl comes up to a Turning Point table and starts accosting this guy who is out there on behalf of Turning Point. And she takes him, the guy's wearing a hat, and she takes his literature, hits his hat, knocks it off.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know who called, but somebody called security and they called the police and they arrest the girl for assault. Well, there's all these black people now that are upset defending the girl as if it was a racist attack or something like this. Oh, she's being judged because of racism. No, she's being judged because she's an idiot and she touched some other person physically, and you can't do that.
Right.
And so she was expelled too. She was arrested and then she was expelled. But now everybody, these people, most of the school doesn't really care. But, and you had a few people that told the whole story of what actually happened, what she did and everything.
Yeah.
But it's just so silly that people are just looking for an excuse to be angry and to attack the establishment. And it's so funny because these people are talking about how racist and how bad Texas Tech is. And I'm thinking, are you kidding me? I went there when there were 20,000 students and less than 50 of us were black. Look at that ratio.
One of the first people you met on campus addressed you as spook.
Right. That's right. And I was the first and only black person in my dorm, but never did I experience racism other than that. And actually, thinking back on it, I don't even know if they were trying to be mean or whatever. The guys in the car, what's going on, spook? I don't know. All I know is when I started laughing at them, it just took off real quick, So, but anyway, it just drives me crazy that here we are today, 50 some years later after I went and all these other kids that I went to school with, 40 or so, that we didn't and don't complain. And here's what's funny too. Everyone that I know that I went to school with ended up with good jobs.
Good.
I mean, really good jobs.
Now, this is your Dodd School in Germany?
No, at Texas Tech.
Oh, at Texas Tech. Okay.
Yeah, every black student I know that went there was there and finished with me a couple of years before after, ended up with great jobs, whether it's AT&T. One of them became a stewardess with United Airlines. Another one became, some of them, and this is the funny thing, the chief of staff of the Air Force that got replaced. He was appointed by Donald Trump in the first term, and he was relieved this time because he was an idiot. He was black, and he's from Texas Tech.
Yeah.
You know who else is from Texas Tech? Scott Pelley.
Oh, God.
60, yeah. To shame.
Hey, Bill Moyer went to Baylor, okay?
Oh, yeah.
Those CBS guys, they come from those.
Yeah, but anyway, so it's just that the stuff is so silly about Nazism.
Yeah.
Like I said, I have actually met neo-Nazis. In fact, one little kid, when Eli was like, I don't know, he's probably 6 or 7, maybe 8. There was a little kid in the neighborhood. Nico was his name. Mm-hmm. And he was there. And what we remember about Nico, I guess he ate too much cake or something. He just started puking all over the living room. Well, anyway, Nico became a neo-Nazi. Mm-hmm. He ended up becoming, for whatever reason, I don't know. But still later on, and when my son went back over there, still friends. I mean, they can be. So what I learned, the true thing about so-called neo-Nazis and nationalism, that nationalism has nothing to do with race. Mm-hmm. This is what you got to remember. Okay? Nationalism is not about race. It's love of country. And that's why it's called nationalism.
Yeah. So, the other is called racism.
Exactly. Yeah. So because you love your country, you don't care what color the person is. If let's say you come from another country and you want to speak English, or in Germany, you want to speak German. Mm-hmm. Like I would have I'm with my kids and these neo-Nazis come on the train and, they hear me speak German. Mm-hmm. I speak German to them, and everything, and they're cool. There's no issue, and so the left and the progressive they're so good at this. They're so good as working up people and changing the meaning of terms, definition of terms, which we've talked about many times. If you get a chance, I'm sure you can get it online, Kingdom of the Cults. And Walter Martin talks about cults, and what they do is they transform meaning, redefine terms.
Yep.
So when you say salvation, when you say eternity, the ever-living God or whatever, they can take that, and when they indoctrinate people, they get them to think something other than. So you can talk with a Jehovah's Witness and tell them, well, we believe in one God. Yeah, we believe that. We believe Jesus was the same. We believe that. We believe the Bible is there. Well, yeah, we believe that. But it's the pluses that they're not telling you about it and how they believe it and define those terms that make the difference. And it's the same with progressives, okay? And this is what we have to fight. We cannot let them redefine terms. So nationalism is not racism. Nationalism means you love your country. And they take it a step further. It's not bad enough to be just a nationalist. You have to be what? What kind of nationalist?
Oh, Christian nationalist.
Christian nationalist.
Yeah, that's the bad kind
of nationalist. That's the worst kind of nationalist. Yeah.
It's okay for an Iraqi to be proud of being Iraqi, but a Christian proud to be American.
Right.
By the way, reports coming out of California, the Department of Motor Vehicles, a worker had to request an interpreter to assist a customer who speaks English. Hispanics becoming the majority language in much of California.
Texas.
I just can I play a little special video from Babylon Bee?
Oh yeah. Let me just say this.
Set it up.
Here's the thing about that to an extent, though. In Texas, for example, the Mexican people that have migrated there over the several hundred years prior to the 20s or the 2000s, they are proud to be American, believe it or not. You go down there and they don't speak, they may speak Spanish to each other privately, but when you go into the shops, they speak English, okay? They speak, and not only English, but very good English, perfect English. So there's not this fear, there does not need to be this fear from the legal immigrants that have come across for years and years and years. there's nothing to be fearful of those people. It's what's come since then from South America, not Mexico, even Central America, but the ones that have come from South America and Africa and Asia and points south and east. So there's so much that we don't stop to think about in these things. And liberal progressives, that's the problem. They don't think. They're literally like sheep being herded. They're like in like Pavlov's dog or whatever animal he used. They get stimuli. I don't know if we need to wrap this up, and I'll let you play that because it's a really good clip. But I'll never forget when Arnold Schwarzenegger ran for governor of California. Mm-hmm. He was running against a Mexican-American named Cruz Bustamante. Mm-hmm. So Cruz Bustamante was the guy. Cruz Bustamante was giving a speech, and in his speech, he talked about niggers. Mm-hmm. Hard G at the end, okay? Mm-hmm. Not niggas, niggers. Mm-hmm. So, yet, Black people still voted for Cruz Bustamante over Arnold Schwarzenegger 7-1. Yeah. 7-1. Yeah. And among Hispanics, Bustamante only had 5-1.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah. So Hispanics, this is how badly the Black community has been indoctrinated.
They're still on the plantation.
Anything Republican, exactly. Yeah. Evil. And now, as we know, Schwarzenegger is one of the most liberal Republicans that you can get out there. You know, he and
remember
Carly
during
Fiorina.
COVID, screw your freedom.
Yeah, screw your freedom. Screw your freedom. Yeah, I forgot about it. Anyway, I defer to you, Dave.
I got to say real quick, I'm down at my mechanic. I got a really good mechanic. He's Mexican. Israel Vasquez. He and his brother.
Wait. Let me correct you. It's Vasquez.
Okay.
There's not Guez. There's not like Gutierrez.
I stand correct.
No, Gutierrez, not Gutierrez.
But I was trying to understand his language better.
Okay, and so, I'm helping you.
I know.
Now, in the future, don't call him Vasquez.
Okay.
Just Vasquez.
See, and he would have helped me with that. He was finishing up working on my car. So I had gotten a ride from my wife down there to pick it up. So I'm hanging around, a couple other Mexican guys there. And I'm trying to chit chat, and they're all speaking Spanish. And I'm trying to get a little tutoring in, help me understand this, and stuff. And finally, Israel pops his head up from under the hood. He says, "Hey, stop. Speak English. It's the language of opportunity."
Yeah.
These guys are all talking to each other Mexican, but they don't want me learning their language. They want to learn mine.
Right.
See, so.
It's funny because in Uganda, English is the official language. Yeah. But they have their tribal tongues.
Yeah.
And at these schools way down in southern Uganda, they're boarding schools. But anyway, when you walk, they have these different signs all over the place. Mm-hmm. And one of that, now this is in Africa. Okay. We're talking Uganda, which used to be the deepest, darkest Africa. So, one of the signs on there, I think I even have photos, says speak English. Speak English. It's the language of success.
There you go.
In Africa.
Same thing.
But for some reason, we're supposed to learn Ebonics in San Francisco. Idiocy.
My son spent a better part of a year with YWAM, did his DTS in Colorado Springs, and then they shipped him to Russia, down to the Caucasus Mountains. And the people of the Caucasus Mountains are nominally Muslim. Okay. They, every village speaks a different language. He said there's over 100 different languages just on the north side of the Caucasus Ridge, the Russian side. And you go 10 miles down the road, it's a different language, but they were all forced to learn to speak Russian. The other thing that they associated with that was the Russian Orthodox Christian Church. And they resist becoming Orthodox Russian Christians because they associate it with communism. And so he was there to present Jesus without the communism. And, but it's kind of funny how that goes.
Wait a minute. You mean Jesus wasn't a communist?
Yeah.
Christianity isn't a communist
to
religion,
the people, to the Caucasians, which is the correct term. Yeah. They were the original Caucasians. That's just how they associate things, and the Russians let them in. Now, this was, 2009. And YWAM still was working with Russia. They built a summer camp. My son was part of the team that finished it off, doubled the size of the facility, and 200 and some kids went there. 170 made commitments to Christ that week at camp. So
a Caucasian is just an Asian with caulk on them.
There you go. Okay, we could take that different ways. I'll just let that fly over my head. All right. So this is brought to you by the Babylon Bee.
Wait, you pick up your mic until you.
Okay. Okay. This is brought to you by the Babylon Bee. A time traveler goes back in time to correct history by eliminating Adolf Hitler. Here's the drama. We're going to play a couple minutes of it. You can watch the rest on Babylon Bee's YouTube channel.
I'm a time traveler from the year 2025, and I've come here to kill you, Hitler.
Oh, not again. I'm never gonna have enough time to finish these paintings with all of these time travelers trying to kill me.
Well, I'm going to succeed.
Before you pull the trigger, can I just ask why? Why do all of you people want to kill me?
Isn't it obvious? I'm a progressive, a liberal, a fighter for social justice. And you are a fascist who implemented a reign of terror. And while the effects of your policies devastated the world for decades, soon we will be able to take back the White House, and we will be able to use the government to force people to follow our great ideas.
You want to use government power to force your ideas on the populace. Me too! That's fantastic!
What? No. Ugh. You and I have nothing in common. What I'm saying is there are people in our time with dangerous ideas, and we need to silence them.
Silencing those who disagree with you. I do that too! Oh, wunderbar! Oh, the Nazi movement will not die with me.
Don't give me that! I'm enlightened, and you're as bad as Hitler. Listen, what I'm trying to say is we are very close to implementing a utopia, as long as we can get rid of some certain undesirable people groups.
Yes, like the Jews.
Yes, like the Jews. Oh.
They've come full circle.
Like the Jews. Yep. It is. It's so funny. People don't understand that. And what worries me, you're getting more and more people who should know better who don't. And it has to be a spiritual thing. And I think it is encapsulated under the heading separation of the sheep and the goats.
Yes.
And you'll soon be able to discern who the sheep and the goats are.
Yes.
And we're starting to do it.
Babylon Bee has a scoop here. Mayor Mondami of New York City has vowed to fight anti-Semitism by announcing mandatory safety camps for Jewish residents. Not ghettos.
Yes, safety camps. Yeah, right. Wow. That's crazy, Dave.
Oh, Spain is troubled that their nation is turning into Minnesota.
Let's discuss
that. Was funny, Eddie.
Wow. It's funny unless you live in Spain.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not so funny. Have you saw the videos, I guess. You've seen the videos?
Yes.
Just thousands and thousands of.
They said 100,000.
100. Yeah. I can believe it. And it's all men.
Wow.
It's all these
Who knew?
Yeah. These guys are just coming across. Actually, I think in the flood that I think there was one girl with them. Mm-hmm. And she might not have been a girl. But anyway, no, but seriously, it everything I saw was men, but the one female. And they're running up to the camera and all this. But they have come across the Mediterranean from Ceuta, Spain. See, Spain, I don't know if you know, a lot of people don't realize, but Spain has a territory on the other side of on the African side.
A lot of us never knew that until this weekend.
On the African side of the Mediterranean. It's called Ceuta, Spain.
Yeah.
And there's a border between that and Morocco.
Yeah.
Right. And so, these people have all fled to Ceuta, and then they've taken boats. And you can go a little further to the east and out of Ceuta from Morocco itself, and then take boats on across.
Yeah, but this was all on the African side that happened. It was, they invaded Ceuta.
Right. Yeah. And so, and they're trying to, and they're using different vehicles. Now, some of them, I think, they've actually attacked the mainland because
it's only 8 miles.
Right. You take any boat across to Gibraltar, basically, or a little Malaga, a little further north.
Yeah. Very little landing spots in Gibraltar, which is a British colony.
Yeah. Well, just by Gibraltar, it's a little bit to the east of Gibraltar, but it's right. That is where, because Malaga, Spain, is the town that's where we caught the boat to go across to Ceuta. But yeah, it's just gotten crazy. Now, the good thing is, or one of the interesting, Italy has sealed off all of their borders to make sure these people, once they get over to Spain, they would have to cross France, parts of France and Monaco, all of that before they get over to Italy. But I don't know if France is doing anything, or they're just letting them come there now.
Monaco is called a principality of what nation?
It's its own country.
Yeah, I get that, but they don't call themselves a nation; they call themselves a principality.
It's because they're run by a prince.
Yeah. So who's the king? There is none.
It was Grace Kelly's husband.
I thought he was Prince Albert or Prince Philip.
There you go, Prince Philip.
He was a prince.
He was a prince.
Yeah.
They decided to forego the king.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Prince is the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so his son now runs it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's strange family of kids, from what I understand.
Could be.
Well, anyway, but your story here is Italy's kind of becoming like Hungary and saying, no, we want our nation to stay our nation. And it's you're saying about nationalism. It's as much about culture as anything.
Yeah. It's what I was saying about the Germans. They don't care what color you are, what your background is, if you're ready to speak German and embrace the German way.
And wear lederhosen.
And for some reason, people don't get that. In America, for sure, they don't get it. That, that's why we have ghettos. And ghetto does not mean slum. A lot of people think, when you think ghetto, you think of some urban ghetto or a slum area.
Right. It's a World War II term.
And ghetto means...
Well, it's kind of it's an ethnic.
Well, it's an ethnic territory.
Yeah,
it is.
But it was the Warsaw ghettos that the Jews were locked in and died in.
And it should have just originally it used to be it was the Jewish ghetto.
Yeah,
that was in Warsaw.
Yeah, that's what.
And later they just called it the Warsaw Ghetto.
Okay, but again, that's what makes it so unique. What Babylon Bee said about Mondami protecting the Jews by forcing them all into
a ghetto. Yeah, basically. Yeah, that's what it is. But this influx, I mean, how many did you say? 100,000?
100,000, 57 dead in 48 hours.
Of the people trying to get in.
Tramplings and drownings.
And drowning, yeah. It's, most of us have seen it on TV. They've had, regardless of what news you watch, they'll show it. It's pretty crazy.
Okay, let's look at what Biden called for in the 2020 debates. They need to surge the border now. Remember that? 3 months before the election. Now, he said. And we saw them all at once coming from all ethnicities and nationalities. And nobody organized it. Nobody masterminded it. This happened this weekend, 100,000, and it happened spontaneously. Yeah. Everybody got the same idea at the same time frame.
And what's weird is they're all wearing nice clothes.
Oh.
Many of them have cell phones.
Yeah.
So
globally, there is some entity organizing this. I think a lot of it used to be funded by USAID. In fact, that kind of leads to another story. The Democrat Party is in debt, and the Republican Party, like $2 million in debt. And the Republican Party's got $100 million in reserve going into these midterms. And according to Newsmax, the reason for the collapse of the Democrat Party is most of their money came laundered through nonprofits, originally from USAID money. Now we know why the Democrats are furious about Doge and the USAID cleanup.
Oh, yeah. There's so many of those organizations that are just cover.
In fact, another thing, plus for Marco Rubio, he said immediately upon being confirmed, he says, I'm taking over USAID. It kind of ran itself as a pseudo administration within the State Department. And no, I'm in charge of this.
Yeah, no, that's true. And the other thing is the Minneapolis, your home area there. Muslim enclaves or Muslim ghettos up there, Somali ghettos, but they're Islamic. I just don't understand it, Dave. You've always heard the term, don't bite the hand that feeds you. These Somali refugees came supposedly to escape life-threatening conditions, poverty, et cetera, and then they come here because we gave them a home. And then what do? They turn on us. And in a lot of cases, criminal activity is running rampant in these ghettos again, whether it's them. You had the Haitians in Ohio, I think, where you had the Haitian issue. You got it everywhere. And it got so bad. This is the good point. It got so bad down in Texas that the Mexican Americans in Texas, particularly South Texas, rebelled against the Mexican influx. And they started saying, this isn't going to work, because they're ravaging their towns and their farms and ranches and so forth. And so the Mexican people, the Mexican American people, have stood up against the onslaught of this immigration. So that's the good news. That's what I want to say as far as the good news.
Yeah, I was trying to look up to see if it's the Islamic sacred texts include Proverbs 13:22, which says, the wealth of the wicked is laid up for the righteous. That's Proverbs. And
they have taken that.
I don't know if they have their own original text, but I sense that as kind of the Islamic chip on your shoulder attitude of many of these immigrants that come in here, that it really belongs to us and we're here to take it over.
That sounds like Black America.
There you go. That would be too.
That's the same attitude. Oh, you don't deserve that because you earned that on the back of our labor.
Yeah.
That's the attitude. Like, no white person ever did any work.
Yeah.
It was all slaves. And I'm sorry, it just drives me nuts because the sham of it all. You've got our mayor here and what's her name? The counselor from North Tulsa, Vanessa Hall Harper.
Yeah.
Okay. She is constantly on this reparations thing. And I'm sorry, Vanessa, but no one owes you a thing.
Yeah.
No one owes the people of North Tulsa a thing. After the riot of 1921, the black citizens got together and rebuilt North Tulsa to be more prosperous than it was before the riot. I don't care what you call it, riot, massacre, event, a festival. I don't care what you call it. It's the same thing, okay? People died, black and white, but we rebuilt.
Yeah.
We rebuilt Tulsa, and particularly Black Tulsa, and it was done through the leadership of Black American leaders that lived in the area. I had a good friend, his family owned the drugstore in North Tulsa. Do you know what destroyed the drugstore? Put them out of business?
Desegregation.
That's right. Desegregation, integration, because all of a sudden they decided Woolworth's drugstore is better than their drugstore.
The white people's stores are better stores.
Exactly. Where they say
which it was
the
just
ice is colder and the water's fresher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's sad. And really our friend Henry Primo not only served on the Greenwood Chamber of Commerce for a time, but helped create a mentorship in North Tulsa for entrepreneurs. And he says, I've got contacts with some of the best and most successful businessmen, and they're willing to help North Tulsans reclaim North Tulsa to what it used to be economically. But they all want to go shopping down at the white people's stores, you know, and look, every store ought to be everybody's stores. We're not against that.
Right.
But you know what? The people who served you when times were tough, you owe them your loyalty.
Yeah. If you go down to Bixby, Broken Arrow, into the Walmarts, the Whole Foods, the, what's the other one that, I can't remember the name. It's like a Whole Foods type place. It's full of black people. And either they've all moved south or they're coming from North Tulsa shopping down here and going back up North Texas, North Tulsa and complaining. That's I could go on and on.
I do want to say this. Integrating an immigrant population does take time, even under the best of plans. I'm from an area of Minnesota, which, I mean, the immigrants that came over right around the turn of the 1900s to the 20th century. And I remember looking back at some old archives of the Little Falls Transcript, the hometown newspaper. And they, back in I think it was 38, they said this Sunday, the Swedish Lutheran Church will, for the first time of 40 years as a congregation, have their first Sunday service in English language. 40 years, they were Swedish only.
Yeah.
Now, so I'm just saying it can be done. It may take time. We've been here before. If you're bothered because your neighbor's yelling at his kids to get out of the road, but yelling in Spanish, that's okay. At least he's parenting his kid.
Yeah, but see, you can't get true integration unless you integrate the culture into and you can't just go one way. We do not help integration in America by causing America to speak Spanish or read Spanish, as you have signs in Spanish. And then you have the same with, where is it, Dearborn, Michigan, or one of the Michigan towns that is totally Islamic now.
Yeah.
And they've got their own police force with Arabic writing on the sides of the cars. The signs are all in Arabic and everything. You can't have that. You cannot. Abraham Lincoln talked about it in his speech.
What I'm saying is when it was done right 100 years ago, it still took time.
Yeah. Oh, no, I
and
agree.
Yes, they did not have translators down at the courthouse for everybody. Yeah, it's a tough deal.
My mother, when she was naturalized back in the 60s, had to be able to recite at least parts of the Declaration of Independence. You had to take a test. Oh, that's gone.
Yeah.
You don't have, it's not that hard anymore. You go to some classes and you could tell. It's so funny. Trump, remember, had that White House swearing in of these immigrants standing on the side there. And if you looked at them, you could tell some of them couldn't understand what he's saying. I mean, it's ridiculous. You cannot have cultures, not nations, but cultures within a culture, and make it work. And I know you think that Scandinavian culture is still there or accepted, but no, those people ended up. Actually, a book that I recommend to everybody, and you need it. It's called Black Rednecks and White Liberals.
Okay,
it's by. Who's the black economist? Not Walter Williams, the other one, Thomas Sowell.
Oh, anything by Thomas Sowell.
Black Rednecks and White Liberals.
Yeah.
Get it in the audiobook if you don't want to read.
No, I just want to say.
But no, let me just finish my thought, okay? His whole deal is that the reason black people have their own vernacular and dialect is not, they didn't bring that from Africa.
You're right.
They learned it somewhere.
You're right.
And they learned it from hillbillies.
Yeah.
Where did hillbillies get their name from? They were the Scottish hill folk from southern Scotland that came to America and migrated to the South to start those farms. That's who the American black slave culture grew up around, so many of them. And therefore, that's why. And then what happened, the reason they still retain it, because if you can go to Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, and talk to somebody, and they don't, hey, how y'all doing out there?
Yeah.
You know, no, James Carville can still act like an ignorant Louisianan, but generally, the people don't speak like that, the younger generations.
Yeah.
So what happened, though, because the black people from that indoctrination and environment, that's how they learned. Red Fox had a thing years ago where he said, where do you think, go fetch that over yonder? He said, we didn't get that from Africa.
Yeah.
We learned that from somebody.
Yeah.
And then what happened as the ghettos, black ghettos of the North developed, the Southerners moved up and started filling the ghettos, and they retained that culture. Yeah. And that's where the black culture comes from.
Yeah. What I'm getting at, Eddie, let's thread the needle on here.
Okay. All right. Here we go.
Day-to-day life, you've got to integrate. We're in agreement on that.
You don't have to, but it would help.
But for success, it's best.
Exactly, it's for success.
And what happens typically isn't necessarily that the immigrant himself all of a sudden becomes fluent in English. It's going to be a struggle, but his kids will. And the kids grow up learning the new language. Yet, this is important, Eddie. It's okay once a year to celebrate Cinco de Mayo, Oktoberfest, the Scottish Highland Games, those cultural things we do once in a while to honor our heritage. And that doesn't mean all of a sudden we got to go back to speaking Italian like, Grandpa Luigi did.
Right.
But we got to remember that.
But see, that's the difference in every other culture and the black culture. Because we segregated the schools, like in New York, you have PS, whatever number, and so many of them in Harlem, they were all black schools that have black teachers that probably weren't the best teachers or what did we say, the most cunning linguists. So that's the difference. When you had the ghetto of people that don't speak the language as well as others, have their own culture, they retain that. And that's what's happening right now in Minnesota and all these areas, you have the Somalis that are retaining their culture or trying to, and their kids are growing up with a chip on their shoulder and not really learning what they should learn. And then you've got the same thing going on, whether it's Africans in certain area, if it were Norwegians and you had all Norwegian schools with no assimilation into the culture, you would have the same problem. The black race is the only one in America that has not assimilated. There's one other one, and that has followed because they used to assimilate, but the Hispanics now are not assimilating
because of their concentrated numbers.
Well, right, and then the lack of concentration on the American or English school systems. Yeah, they say, these people can't, bilingual education. It doesn't work. Yeah, it doesn't work. Yeah, you take a kid up to 8 years old, right? And you throw them into a class with a bunch of American kids. In a month, they're speaking English and they're reading English and everything. You do the second English is ESL, English is a second language course in separation. The kids will never be fluent in English. I'm sorry, go ahead.
You were talking about the black school districts up in Harlem. I've got actually a pretty funny clip. It's just a minute or two. And I want to play it for you. This is a substitute teacher down in, I think it's in Brooklyn, but he's coming from Queens and he is taking roll.
Oh, Key and Peele.
All right, listen up, y'all. I'm y'all substitute teacher, Mr. Garvey. I taught school for 20 years in the inner city, so don't even think about messing with me. Y'all feel me? Okay, let's take a roll here. Jay Quellen. Where's Jay Quellen at? No Jay Quellen here?
Yeah. Do you mean Jacqueline?
Okay, so that's how it's gonna be. Y'all wanna play? Okay, then. I've got my eye on you, Jay Quellen. Balake. Where is Balake at? There's no Balake here today. Yes, sir.
My name's Blake.
Are you out of your goddamn mind? Blake. What? Do you want to go to war, Balaki?
No.
Because we could go to war.
No.
I'm for real. I'm for real. So you better check yourself. D nice. Is there a D nice? If one of y'all says some silly ass name, this whole class is gonna feel my wrath. Now, D nice.
Right. That's a little bit of the famous comedian duo Key and Peele. They had a TV show. That's a little bit of the famous comedian duo Key and Peele. They had a TV show.
No,
and weren't they on Mad
I can't
TV?
remember what they were. It was something else. It wasn't Mad TV, but no. I can't remember what they were. It was something else.
In
Living Color. No, it wasn't Living Color either.
In Full Color?
But, it's interesting. In Living Color, no, it wasn't Living Color either. But, it's interesting, though. Their stuff, you see it on YouTube all the time. And on Facebook. It pops up. You see it on YouTube. And they have some of the absolute funniest stuff because it pops up. It's all real. And they have some of the absolute funniest stuff because it's all real. But one of the funniest ones. And he's preaching in this service, and then he starts this preacher about, and he's preaching in the homosexual, and then he members of the church about, and the homosexual members of the church. Next to the girl, and all of a sudden the camera goes on him, and the guy looks over and sees the girl, and the camera goes on him. Every time the preacher makes a reference to homosexuals, every time they show him, preacher makes a reference to homosexuals. They show him. So next time, they show. So he's got next time tries to put his arm around this girl, and they show. And she's not with her. He tries to put his arm around this girl, and then finally she's not with her. They pan over to him, and then finally his seat is empty. But the camera followed him. He's laying on the floor. His seat is empty. Trying to hide. But the camera followed him. He's laying on the floor hiding. Or they keep pointing out that he's the gay guy. Or they keep pointing out that he's the gay guy. They have some of the most. It's not always the cleanest.
Evidently, this is Comedy Central.
There you go. It's not always the cleanest.
Evidently, this is Comedy Central.
The language is not always the Comedy Central. But it is absolutely. They won't show that on TV anymore. It is absolutely the left. They can't. They won't show that they were hitting too much. Because the left too close to where they don't want it because they were hitting too much.
Comedy Central's had some of the most cutting edge. South Park. Comedy Central's had some of the most cutting edge.
Do you remember the big?
Oh my goodness, the stuff they've had on there.
Do you remember the big? Because they wanted to do a thing where they had Muhammad. Going door to door because they wanted to do a thing where and they had a character for Muhammad, but the network would not let them show it. So they for Muhammad, but blue dot network would not let them show it. So they had this blue dot, but it just showed Muhammad's face. They got suspended or something for a while. But it just showed. In fact, they got suspended or something. They did not want to have the censorship deal because they so what they did this is really terrible what they did this is really terrible what they did just to show they did that you could do anything with Jesus episode and so just to show Jesus doing this that you could do anything with Jesus they had him and so they had Jesus doing this doing that all over they had him this rug or and stepping and poop all over or something this rug and it just got really but they a prayer rug or something, and it seemed sacrilegious. It got really high, but the reason they were doing it was sacrilegious to show that you could do. The reason they were doing it was to show that, but don't touch Muhammad. Say anything about Jesus. They were pointing out the hypocrisy. Don't touch Muhammad. As far as Christianity and Jesus, they were pointing out the hypocrisy. They didn't care. As far as Christianity and Jesus, here's you could do anything worse and worse and worse and worse. Because here's Jesus doing this. Here's it just kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse. I'm crying. Nobody's saying anything. Stop. No. You could they actually showed it. Nobody's saying anything. Stop. You can't show it. And they actually showed it. It's ridiculous.
Have you? This is a little aside, Eddie. Wow. I've told you about my favorite episode. This is a little aside, Eddie, which was I've told you about my favorite episode of South Park decides to put together a Christian band. Cartman. Did you ever see it? Decides to put together a Christian band. A Christian music promoter, producer, Eddie, record label executive, Christian you've done all kinds of things. Producer, it is record label executive for you. You've done all kinds of things because it is because they're picking on the Christian boy band plus one. Because and they're picking on the Christian boy band plus one. Some of those guys, and my oldest son shows some casual friends with some of those and then guys. They always throw in the little bit shows of some like token, and then they always throw in the little bit. See, to me, imagine Eddie Huff, a little black boy in Nuremberg, Germany, 1950s. Imagine Eddie Huff, a little black boy in Nuremberg, Germany, 1950s. Cartman says to Token, "Hey, go down your basement, grab your bass, and come on over my house." Cartman says to Token, "Hey, go down your basement, grab your bass, and come on over my house." You're black. My bass. Every black kid has a bass. Yeah, you are. What do you know? You're black. Every black kid has a bass.
What do you know?
What do you know? And it's all these stereotypes that they poke fun of. And that's a brilliant thing. It's all these stereotypes that they poke fun of. And that's a brilliant thing.
The funniest one to me was like this psychologist. And you can find all these on YouTube. We are seeing a lot of problems with discipline in the classroom. We are seeing a lot of problems. We know how to take care of it. You got the classroom. 3 kids sitting there, and we know how to take care of it. And you got these yelling and screaming, and they're starting to be quiet. The kids won't do anything. And screaming, the guy takes one and smacks him like the kids won't do anything. The guy takes one and smacks him wailing because he's slapping. He starts. Stop crying and wailing because he smacks him again. All of a sudden, so then stop crying. He walks to the other 2 that are over here. All of a sudden, and so then all of a sudden he walks to the other 2 that are over here. They're not doing anything. All of a sudden, Yes, this is how you discipline children. Basically, it's showing the reason that kids are unruly like that. Basically, is because there's no punishment. The reason there's kids are unruly like that.
Were you taught by the nuns?
There's no punishment.
Yeah, they were pretty no nonsense. Were you taught by the nuns?
Yeah, but
they were pretty no nonsense.
I just told somebody this story. Oh man, this is when he shows about stories. But I just told somebody this story. Oh man, this is when he shows about stories. But anyway. I was in Catholic school in Philadelphia. It was, and the only mixed schools you could get in Philadelphia, in that area, Catholic schools. The only mixed schools you could get in Philadelphia, in that area, Catholic schools.
Wow. Yeah.
So anyway, public schools. And I was in there with these Irish kids, Polish kids. So anyway, there were some bad kids. And I was in there with these Irish kids were being bad, and Sister Mary Benedict. So one day, the kids were being bad, and Sister Mary Benedict. Children, you need to learn how to bend. So somebody was doing something. You need to stop. Children, you need to learn how to bend. To whack the kid with a yardstick. You need to stop the kid. Goes over and snatch the yardstick with a yardstick. This is some the kid Irish or Polish. I don't remember what, but he was from one of those. This is some, and he takes the Irish or Polish. I don't remember what, but he was from one of those.
Oh my goodness!
And he takes the yardstick and he starts around the class.
Oh my goodness!
And his name was Quigley. So I guess what is that? Irish Quigley. No, you stop it quickly. His name was Quigley. So I guess what is that? Irish running after. Probably. Spanking the nuns. And I'm here running after. I'm in shock. I could not believe. And I'm here like, because I knew he was going to hell. I'm in shock.
Was that his last day in the school?
Because I knew he was going to hell. You know.
Was that his last day in the school?
No. Wow. The nuns, they didn't throw kids out of Catholic school, really. They would, the nuns, have you write 50 Hail Marys and Our Fathers. And they would, in my case, have you write 50 Hail Marys and Our Fathers. I remember having to write the Apostles' Creed. In my case,
that's what they do wrong. They make learning and writing a punishment. Yeah, that's what they do wrong. Kids learn that they hate learning and writing a punishment. It's just some bad stuff. Kids learn that they hate writing. What really killed some bad stuff for me, I went to St. Mary's. I wasn't enrolled in the school. For me, I went to St. Mary's. I wasn't enrolled in the school. And my older brothers just got they never wanted to expel bigger kids. My older playground. Finally, my mom said, "We're going to public school." By bigger kids. What happened in the 70s, particularly amongst the Franciscan sisters? But what happened in the 70s, particularly amongst the Franciscan sisters, the women's lib, is women swept through the
Benedictines.
The women's lib just swept through the, and all these women took off the habits and everything, and they might have somewhat stayed women with it, but largely they did everything. They felt like the church was oppressing them, this vow of poverty and everything else. They felt like the church was oppressing them, this vow of poverty and everything else. And, so all of a sudden, you didn't have nuns teaching at Catholic schools. So all of a sudden, nuns you didn't have nuns teaching at Catholic schools.
I'm going to talk about the anti.
So anyway, we got stories.
I'm going to talk about the anti-America, Israeli, anti-Jewish. It's gotten bad. Sentiment in America. It's really bad. It's gotten bad. It's really troubling to me. Is you have people who should know better. Really troubling to me, so-called is Christians, people who should know better. Some that have some so-called Christians following, some that have some that are following this thing, and they've done. And we've talked about this for years. That are following the whole thing, and they've issued. And we've talked about this for years. The whole replacement theology issue that Christians have replaced replacement theology. And to me, Christians it's not have replaced an either or, it's a both. And to me, it's who is a true Jew, an either or, I believe it's a both. My feeling is this: who is a true Jew? And I believe my feeling is this: the Jews themselves will one day awaken through either visitation or through the Holy Spirit moving upon them to show either visitation wrong, or through the Holy Spirit moving upon them to show the second coming wrong. Waiting for a return of the Messiah coming when he's already waiting for a return of the Messiah. That's my opinion, but it's gotten really bad. And it keeps that's my opinion, but it's gotten really bad, worse and worse. And it keeps
you've got some conflation that goes on
and getting worse and worse.
And you've got some conflation that goes on when it refers to their Hebrew ethnicity. that refers to their Hebrew ethnicity and make it the same as those who believe in the Judaic and make it the theology. Same as those who believe in the Judaic. Are you talking about theology? The ethnic also called Hebrew people, or are you talking about the adherence to the Jewish theology people, or are you talking about the adherence to the Jewish theology? They're kind of throwing them all in one bag.
Right. I'm saying both. But
they're kind of throwing them all in one bag.
Right. To try to separate them. See, it's not my job to separate. To try to separate them. Christians. Just like it's not my job to separate. Okay, you're going to make it. No, Christians. Yep. No, not you. Yeah. Okay, you're going to make it. This is when you start getting in trouble. Because not you. We are not. This is when you start getting in trouble because it's made clear again in Romans that it's made clear again in Romans that the master's the judge of the master's servant. Okay, the master's is to be the judge of the master's servant.
We had some of the same thing happen a century ago. Right, when there was some of the same thing happened a century ago. Ethnic Irish and ethnic Italians prevent because they are papists. Ethnic Irish and ethnic Italians because they are ethnicity. To their sect of Christianity, ethnicity, and the two are completely separate. To their sect of Christianity, so and the two are completely separate. See, I don't think Tucker Carlson's a problem. My problem. Listen to what he actually says. Tucker Carlson's a problem. I don't see a problem. I do see some problem with guys like Nick Fuentes because they try to lump everybody. I do see some problem with guys like Nick Fuentes and treat them all as one. Everybody, and that's just prejudice and stereotype. And treat them all as one. And that's just prejudice and stereotype. There is a political agenda of the Israeli nation. There is a political agenda of the Israeli nation. You're anti that. If you don't agree with it, does not mean you're anti or even of the Jewish people globally as a practice, and or even of the Jewish people. If that weren't the case, I mean, you go to Israel today and you find out Benjamin Netanyahu is barely hanging on to power today, and you find out Benjamin Netanyahu is barely hanging on to power politically. And so to take a stand that's not full-fledged, we love you, Benjamin Netanyahu. That's not full-fledged, we love you, Benjamin Netanyahu. You're not in sync with the body of the Israeli people, who does have some real problems with him. The body of the Israeli people, who does have some real problems with him.
Okay, faith-wise, it's not my job to worry about or decide. Faith-wise, is Benjamin to worry about or decide a true Jew or not a true Jew? Is Benjamin Netanyahu a true Jew for destruction or not a true Jew? Okay, that's not my job. Now, politically, how he or Israel and the leadership of Israel politically how the world or Israel and the leadership of Israel in particular the world in fighting against these other enemies of the state. In fighting against, I can either be formed against enemies, but it's not my job to worry about whether I can either be formed against Netanyahu. It's not my job to worry about Christian or not, or is not a Christian. I'm sorry, I take that back. Yeah, is he marked for salvation or not? Or is not a Christian? I'm sorry, I take that back. I have the problem for salvation or not, and that's where theology. I have the problem is because see, this is how I believe Nazi Germany became Nazi Germany. Because see, this is how I believe the same Nazi Germany became Nazi Germany. Slowly they were able to the same be convinced type of thing that these are slowly not really they were able to and therefore be convinced to that they're actually not really Jews and therefore we need to.
I do not go there with all of a sudden you question really is this a really a legitimate go there with all of a sudden you question is this a really a legitimate profession of what they say they are unless you have proof that they aren't what they say they are personal. Unless you have Nick Fuentes is wrong when he lumps them by their ethnicity. Nick Fuentes is wrong when he lumps them by their ethnicity. Born and raised at a time when if you were 5% black, you were black. Born and raised at a time when and they just had these certain ways. And Nazi Germany was very much that way. And they just had these certain ways. And Nazi Germany was very much that way. Any trace of Judaism, and you went to the camps. My thing with like AIPAC, I don't think. But my thing with like AIPAC has done. I don't think the cause ultimately. So that when they went after, first of all, Tucker Carlson, the cause. Why? Because he wouldn't go after first of all, Tucker Carlson. And why? Then because he wouldn't Heritage Foundation because they would not condemn Tucker Carlson with Heritage Foundation because they would not even though he did condemn many of his teachings for not condemning Nick Fuentes, even though he did trying to destroy a good journalist like Tucker Carlson. They're trying to now all of a sudden you're forcing me to say no. I'm not with your agenda. All of a sudden, you're forcing me to say no. And Tucker Carlson is just like, look, I love the Jewish people. I love what it stands for. I love everything. But I don't have to agree with every political agenda item. But I don't have to agree with every particular government agenda
That's
item.
True. The problem we run into
this particular government.
Needs to be a separation That's of the true. Spiritual. The problem we run into it needs to be a separation of the spiritual and the carnal. Take that to another step to say that the Palestinians have a right to another land. To say that the Palestinians only have a right to the land. Totally 100% complete genocide. Only drive the rats totally out of total 100% complete genocide. Drive the rats totally out of the peninsula.
The Catholics did not take a stand that we have to support Italy during World War II. Take a stand that we have to support the devout Catholic and that Rome is where the papacy is and everything. They separated the two. Rome is where the papacy is and everything. They separated the two. I don't see it happening right now. Is not the Jewish Israel belief system. Well, it is a nation. Puts primarily people of a Hebrew ethnicity. It is a nation.
Right.
Puts primarily people of a Hebrew ethnicity.
Land that God promised he would return them to. The land that God promised he would return them to. That is the Jewish land, the Jewish homeland.
Okay.
That is the Jewish doesn't mean land, the Jewish homeland.
Okay.
Everyone there's going to be saved because there's some pretty raunchy people there like there are everywhere. Everyone there's going to be saved.
It's a very socialist government.
But again, it's like there are everywhere.
Right. It's a very socialist government.
Again, it's not the good ones. These are the bad ones.
Yeah. No.
I don't do that with Catholics. I don't do it with Protestants.
Church of England takes a little bit different.
I don't do that with Catholics.
Right.
I don't do it with Protestants.
Church of England takes a little bit different. The Schofield Reference Bible and all the notes and about the latter day, you know, we're in the end times Bible and all the notes. You're not really big on all this, you know. Eddie, you're not really big on all this, you know, tribulation and all that.
Well, I got saved through
tribulation and all that.
But I got saved through Great Planet Earth.
The prophecies about the return of the Jews. Well, that happened. The prophecies about the return of the Jews. Well, what the belief is that there's a double reference. And what the belief is that there's that it happened in one sense of many of these prophecies centuries ago. That it happened in one sense, yet it's going to happen again in the last centuries ago. And that's the thing that it's hard to build really sound doctrine. And that's the thing that it's hard to build really sound doctrine.
So when did it happen centuries ago?
Out of things that you could take it a number of. So when they were taken by Nebuchadnezzar. And then, of course, when they were taken by Nebuchadnezzar, took over the Babylonian Empire. And then, of course, you had the Medo-Persian Empire took over the Babylonian Empire. A leader, Isaiah, prophesied before Cyrus is even born. Not only was Cyrus born, what do you know? He became the empire, the emperor. Not only was Cyrus born, what do you know? He became the empire, and he declared that the Jews should return now back to Jerusalem and rebuild their place of worship. Return now back to Jerusalem. Prophecy and rebuild their place of worship. You have a lot of things like prophecy and fulfillment, where you could see there was a fulfillment here, but yet we want to take there was a fulfillment at time, but and you know all the watch these movies and read, you know, and you know all the watch these movies. I believe it's all going to happen or has happened. I just don't know the time. I believe it's all going to happen or has happened.
Yeah, we don't know. Man knows the hour of the day. No, I agree. What I'm just saying is that we don't know. Man knows the hour of the day to return. What I'm just saying is that. If they reestablish a nation to return, are you saying that is the only reference Now, and that was fulfilled already. That is the only reference. Ezra and Nehemiah, and that was fulfilled already. The nation, or Ezra and Nehemiah was he speaking later? Reestablished the nation.
It's the thing,
or was he speaking?
There are plausible.
Later?
I know. It's the thing. And theories. There are plausible, when you start adding plausible on top of plausible on top of plausible. Eventually, you're so far removed from plausible on top of plausible on top of plausible. You're so far removed from what Paul called. It's okay to believe all this, but to try to create a doctrine and build a political system, but to try to create a doctrine and build a political system
I think the argument
on top of that doctrine.
Christians are having in America. I think the argument that Europe as well, Christians about having in America. Maybe is different. Well, it's just about a different discussion, right? Because it's different. It's something that the Jewish nation or the Jewish people will have to iron out themselves. Something that the Jewish nation or the Jewish
lot of money
will have to iron out themselves.
Yeah, people like John Hagin, a lot of money. Pat Boone, who actually was people like John by the Israeli government. People like Pat Boone, who actually was to be an ambassador to the Christian people of. Appointed to be an ambassador to the Christian people. They're throwing a lot of money in, and a lot of they're throwing a lot of sermons and preaching and a lot of stuff has sermons and preaching and money corrupts. I'm just going to say,
no, I agree.
Resulted.
And
money corrupts. I'm just going to say,
no, I agree. Anything. That still does not, nor does the gate say anything that biblically this is the way. Nor does you know how God works. He always does it some way you never expected. Right?
Personally,
you know how God works.
Eddie, I have to say, I've lived long enough. Personally, Eddie, I have to say, I know miracles when I see them. That when the 6-Day War happened, I know miracles. The raid on Entebbe Airport, when the 6-Day War happened, I see some. The raid on Entebbe Airport. And you have to say, I see some amazing at some point, things. Maybe God's on their side. Maybe God really wants this to happen. Maybe God's on their side.
Yeah, if you can't see that, then I feel sorry for you.
Wants this to happen. In every Christian ought to
then I feel
take an honest look at it. That doesn't mean you have to agree with Netanyahu. Take an honest look at it. That doesn't mean you have to agree with Netanyahu on everything.
That's the deal. See, I've been called to preach the gospel. My thing is this: the Gentile. I've been called to preach the gospel. I'll leave the Gentile preaching to, or the conversion, or the return. I'll leave the Jews preaching to, or the conversion, or the in the hands of whoever God assigns the Jews. Duty. I'll leave that. That's not in the hands of whoever God assigns.
It's not my place to question it.
Right, duty. So that's all I'm saying. I believe the scripture. I still believe that. That's all I'm saying. I believe the scripture. I still believe that to the tree of the Jews.
I believe of Abraham.
To the tree of the Jews.
I believe of Abraham and his seed. Okay.
And thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I thought for you to see.
And his seed. Okay.
And thank you. I thought that's as far as I go. Okay. So how it works out, that's as far as I go. I'm not going to try.
Yeah.
How it works out. Even Jesus doesn't know the hour of the day. There's things we don't know about. Even Jesus doesn't know the hour of the day. We're starting to feel like, and there's things we don't know about. Headed towards that. We're starting to feel the prophecies that have not yet been headed towards that. Armageddon, the prophecies and the Antichrist, and the beast, and such as all of how that works out, and the Antichrist. We haven't seen it, and all of how that works out. We're starting to see signs. We haven't seen it, so that's why I'm not ready. But I'm starting to see signs. I'm not going to go out and preach. So that's why I'm not ready. But as far as anti-Israel, I'm not going to go out and preach. I don't feel called to that. Or anti-Israel.
Yeah, I had to say this.
I don't feel called to that.
You remember the famous story of Peter on the rooftop and his vision? Remember the famous story of Peter on the rooftop and his vision? Cornelius, he just said he was a righteous man. Yeah. I don't know what his system of theology just said he was a righteous man. Problem with organized religion is I don't know what his systems of theology is. And this is the problem with God comes in religion is we create systems of theology, and sometimes God comes in and just confuses it all.
I mean, you can go on YouTube and you see, we're seeing example after example. I mean, you can go on YouTube and you see Muslims example after example turning to Christianity.
Yeah.
So Muslims, Arabs turning to Christianity.
You and I have very much the same same view of what makes a marriage. You and I have very much the same view of what makes a marriage. We're pretty much not whether the priest blesses the commitment.
And here's the other thing I want to say.
Pretty much go to the spirit of the commitment.
And here's the other thing I want to say. To who? Okay. The promise
Abraham
was made
in the beginning,
and
his seed.
To his seed.
Well, Abraham in the beginning,
his seed. And
his seed. Yeah.
His seed.
Hagar.
Was Ishmael his seed?
Yeah.
Does that mean
Hagar?
Are we just going to write them off, or is God going to appear to them as well? Are we just going to write them off, or is God going to appear to them as well? And have a revival among
this is the problem we have. You talked about the family feud in the Middle East, and this is the problem we have. And this is the problem. I've got a good friend down the street from me who's and this is the problem. I've got a good friend down the street from me who's from Iran, and he is a very proud Persian man, and I have no problem with that. He is a very proud, but the way Persian he puts down Pakistanis and Indians and everywhere, but the way he somehow to him Pakistanis, his way of building himself up is putting other people down. And that's his way of building himself up is putting other people down. It should not be a problem. And that's godless to me. That God blesses you. It should not be a problem. You know, to some people just God blesses can't tolerate that. You know, God has some people. Any other can't tolerate child God other than me. I have to be his favorite.
If the Arabs did not have a common enemy. Yeah, if the Arabs did not have a common enemy called America.
And the little Satan Israel,
they would fight each other.
Oh yeah. I mean, in the little Satan Israel,
they would fight each other.
Oh yeah, the Persians. I mean, in fact,
here's the thing too that we need to understand. I didn't understand this until recently. That came up. We need to understand the Ayatollahs. I didn't understand this until recently. Are not Persians. The Ayatollahs.
You're messing with things, Eddie.
So this nation has been taken over by this sector. This nation has been taken over by this sector, and they are now controlling the nation. And they are now controlling the nation. Nationalists. There are Persian nationalists. Persians who love their country and want to return Persian nationalists. Who love their country
because they were great culture for millennia.
Ayatollah Persia.
Because they were great culture
all the way back to
millennia.
And so
amazing
all the way back to Persian Empire. I don't want to get too deep. So
let me ask you this. I'm going full circle to what you talked about socialism taking over. Let me ask you this. I'm going full circle to what you talked about socialism taking over. Theory that it's really socialism is being used by it's really socialism Muslim nationalists to undermine America. Radical Muslim nationalists to undermine America. Socialists are using. And there's another view that the Arab nationalists are using to undermine America.
I think
Arab nationalism to undermine America.
Yeah, I agree.
Because what happened?
I think it's
it was actually the Soviet Russians. Because what happened? It was actually the Soviet Russians that propped up the Ayatollah Shah. Because the Shah was pro-Western. To overthrow the Shah. And then the Shah was Khomeini screwed over the Soviets. And he did not ally with them. Khomeini screwed over the Soviets. He did not ally with them. Get out there, that narrative. But the Soviets felt like they were double-crossed by the Iranians. That narrative. But the Soviets felt like they were double-crossed by the Iranians.
That's the thing, you can't. Somebody once said, that you can't make no perfect friends and no perfect, no permanent friends and no permanent enemies. Make no perfect friends and no perfect things change. No permanent friends and no permanent enemies. When it comes to international alliances, and look biblically, when it comes to international alliances, these kings would make alliance with the Jews. Turn around and they would fight them. These kings would make alliance with these kings. Turn around and
your years in Philadelphia, long winter with a lot of snow. Your years in Philadelphia. parking lot, they would have to winter with a lot of mounds of snow, right? The school parking lot, they would have to. That was awesome because that was the best way to play King of the Hill. You play King of the Hill as a kid. That was awesome. Okay, that was down at the bottom. Everybody's your ally. You play King of the Hill as a kid. When you're at the top, you have no at the bottom. Everybody's your ally.
Well, at the bottom,
but once you start up the hill,
you're pulling people down.
Eventually, right.
At the bottom, but once you start up the hill,
when you're the top, you're the one everybody's after. And you have no friends. When you're the top, you're the one everybody's after. When they're trying to take down America. And this is the thing. Islamists when they're trying to take down America working hand in hand. You got the Islamists and the gay will never get along working hand in hand. But you know those two will never get along. Neither of them's in power. New Black Dot.
Did you ever read my where I deal with that whole thing? It's a 3-part series.
Black Dot? Yeah.
About where I deal with that whole thing. Starts 3-part Daniel and the 3 enemies, and we have the 3 enemies here. I wrote this in the 90s. Daniel and the 3 enemies, and we have the 3 enemies. I wrote this in the 90s. Atheism. And the 3 enemies were Islam, atheism, and New Age syncretism. Those are the 3. Islam and these and New Age syncretism align with what we should put. I should give and these all have you put align with what we should put. I should it deals with, and this is from and have you actually I think it was 1987. Yeah, but it deals with, and this is from about the Islamic. I think it was 1987, 1981, because I found out about the Islamic Brotherhood kid who 1981. YWAM. It was this, and he was telling us about the Muslim Brotherhood and what they're planning on doing. And he was telling us about the Muslim Brotherhood for decades, 40 years. So I've known about this. We need to move on.
Let's segue right into that. Muslim Brotherhood created this entity called Hamas. Let's segue right into that. Muslim Brotherhood created this entity called Hamas, which they later accepting Hamas just today. Of a peace treaty announced where they will agree to be disarmed. The terms and this was brokered by they will agree to be disarmed. What's that? And this was brokered by the Trump put together this coalition of Middle Eastern states. Trump put together to try to work this out. Coalition of Middle Eastern states
in Iran
to try to work this out. The original Muslim Brotherhood of Egypt.
In Iran. Okay, right. That's where
the original Muslim Brotherhood of Egypt. They were the ones that killed Saddam.
That's where.
That's where they came from. Later they were the ones that Hamas, but Hamas today. But later they disavowed Hamas, but Hamas today said that. It's saying, now Turkey, who Israel hates and they hate Israel, and Turkey played a big role who Israel hates and they hate Israel amongst those played a big role because Hamas trusts Turkey more than anyone. Amongst those nations.
But the Brotherhood is so much bigger and more extensive than that. But the Brotherhood is so much bigger and more extensive. In 1981, this young kid, their whole plan was 19 years old. Seriously, in 1981, this young kid, Morocco, he was probably 19 years old, and he was telling us about the Muslim Brotherhood and their plan, and he was telling us about trade to universities and their plan from there to the government, trade to universities, and then basically sabotage all these countries. And then this is not new news. We're talking 40 some years ago now. This is not new news. We're talking 40 some years ago now. I don't know why they just can't or won't open their eyes to see this stuff.
I got another story here in Maine. They got rid of the Nazi. I got another story here in Maine. They got rid of the Nazi socialist. I did not know you had a story on this.
I was just getting ready to read.
Okay. You talked about your story.
And it was the rise of socialism. Is my next topic.
You talked about your blog.
And it was the rise of socialism.
No, it's a funny joke, Eddie, and it'll take 30 seconds.
Okay.
So it's a funny joke, Eddie, and they'll take 30 seconds. In Maine, they had to get rid of the socialists with the Nazi tattoo on his chest. Socialists with the Nazi tattoo on his chest. Somebody from their state legislature, but then they find out that to replace him, somebody from their state legislature, but then they find out they've had a couple of kids together. Getting it on with his second cousin, and they've had a couple of kids together. Even see from the Bible that marrying your cousin. I don't even see from the Bible that marrying your cousin.
No, I don't think anybody sees it as that. But it's not genetically beneficial. I don't think anybody sees it as that. But it's not genetically beneficial. It goes all the way down to like your sixth cousin.
But even the most strict,
it goes all the way down to like your sixth cousin.
But even in America, the most don't forbid it. state laws
your second cousin,
in America don't forbid. Nobody, about half the states say you can't marry your cousin. Nobody says about half the states say you can't of any of our state laws.
Wait a minute.
Nobody says you can't marry your second cousin.
To me, a cousin's a cousin. Wait a minute.
Second cousin is another generation down on both sides. Second cousin, so now you're like another generation down on both sides of the genetics. So now you're like
depends on which maybe one eighth of the genetics. Is it the crazy eighth? Depends on which eighth that is. Is it the crazy eighth? Cousin Eddie's? Is it cousin Eddie's? Is it cousin Eddie's? Or is it cousin Eddie's? Clark? Is it Clark's eighth? Or is it neither one of them are two?
Best movie series ever, man.
Neither one of them are two.
Best movie series ever, man. I just want to say, I don't have a problem with it, and I'm thinking, I just want to say, this is I don't have a problem with it, and I'm thinking, if you think this is what you're going to build your political agenda on, Republicans,
here's the thing:
leave it alone.
You throw everything against the wall. Here's the thing, and some of it will stick. I guarantee you, there are people that, and some of it will stick. I guarantee you, there are people that second cousin are stuck in the mud enough to say,
John Sullivan tried to throw a lot of mud at Jim Bridenstine. John Sullivan and Chris Medlock tried to throw a lot of mud at Jim Bridenstine in his dress white. Chris Medlock did this flyer proud at attention in his dress white. You throw mud at this man.
Let me ask you, is this person married to his second cousin?
You throw mud at this man.
Let me ask you, is this person married to his second cousin? Is he that worthy?
That's a voter as a man to decide that. That's a voter as a man to decide that. It's more the fact that, I'm not even sure they actually married her. They just it's more the fact that I'm not even sure they actually married her. Exactly. Now,
what's the third one? A third one is going to be that second cousin.
Exactly. Now,
what's the third one? A third one is going to be that second cousin.
But this is the latest in the political saga going on. I just wanted to throw that out there. This is the latest in the political saga going on.
My thing was the rise of socialism.
Talk about your point.
My thing was the rise of socialism. And we kind of touched it there. But there is such a rise now that. But there seems to be this rise. These run together. There's another one that just came in Denver. There seems to be this rise in Denver. There's a lady that just came in Denver. Isn't in Denver? No,
is that who you sat by?
Who's
is that this woman?
Oh no.
Is that who you sat by? Because she's Lieutenant.
No, I don't think that's her.
Okay, because she's Lieutenant.
Oh yeah, she must be the existing lieutenant
for running mate for governor.
Is she? Oh, yeah,
Leslie Dahlkemper, who was selected as Democrat Phil Weiser's gubernatorial running mate. Leslie Dahlkemper, who was selected as Democrat Phil Weiser's gubernatorial running mate.
This one I'm talking about is running for lieutenant governor. These are the two that are being picked. Yeah,
but this one I'm talking about is running
for lieutenant governor.
They run as a pair, not like Oklahoma. There, they do it as a team. They run as a pair, not like Oklahoma, where it's a separate.
Right, but this is the existing lieutenant governor.
No,
it's not. Right, but this is the existing
you sat by the existing one. That's what it was.
The one I sat he's the Secretary of State.
You sat by the existing one. That's what it was.
The one I sat he's the Secretary of State.
She wants to be Lieutenant Governor. It doesn't sound like she's going to make it. She's running. She wants to be Lieutenant Governor. It doesn't sound like she's going to make it.
That's what I had last. Okay.
You tell the story.
Thank you. Anyway, at last, in miracles do happen. Colorado. There's another Congresswoman. Colorado. There's another Congresswoman who's just won the Democratic nomination to become Congresswoman. Who's just won the Democratic nomination. She's another one. She's radical Congresswoman. One of the socialist people.
Yeah.
She's another one. There's this movement now. Socialist. What I'm saying is it's a Trojan horse. And what I'm saying is it's a Trojan horse. It's what's the old thing that Muhammad always said? That you could be all things. What's the old thing that Muhammad always said? That you could be all things to all people. And that's what I see. Because Jews, and Muslims, that's what I see. Where they're allowed to lie. They're allowed to pretend. They have this thing where they're allowed to lie. They're allowed to pretend quietly there's something else, assimilate and take over.
Yeah.
And that's what is happening. So you've got another one now, Mamdani, and that's what is happening. Islamic socialist. You've got another one now. Mamdani is a socialist to be this Islamic socialist. That I don't believe he's a socialist elections, at all. And he's using all over America now. We're starting to see these Congress people, and it's happening all over America. People running for governor. We're starting to see these Congress people claim to be mayors, and people running for governor. They just happen to be Muslim, but they're really socialist. I guarantee you, if they ever just happen to be Muslim, but they're really socialist power, I guarantee you, if they ever go out the window.
Okay, so you're saying you can't truly be both. Okay, so you're saying that's a great point. Truly be both. What I see, again, I'm going back to the overthrow of the Shah of Iran. What I see, again, I'm going back to the Soviets were doing two things. They were helping Khomeini. The Soviets were also inciting riots. They were helping universities in Tehran. But they were also inciting riots amongst the universities in that socialist movement. Really, I would give more credit in that to the college students for bringing about that. I would give more credit to the college students for bringing about that. They got screwed over.
Yeah, and that's what we're seeing in America.
They wanted liberty from a monarchy, because now they got a monarchy, a theocratic monarchy, and now they got
and that's,
a monarch,
that's the same pattern we're seeing here in America.
So what you had is socialists.
That's the same pattern we're seeing here in America.
So what you had is socialist nation, right, and then go to war against each other. Teaming up to overthrow a nation, and if they ever do succeed,
and they'll be the first ones.
And there's going to be war.
They'll be the first ones martyred. And they'll be the first ones.
Well, and if you remember from Dr. Zhivago, who told the whole Bolshevik revolution, remember from Dr. Zhivago, who told the whole Bolshevik revolution in that
it's a pattern
they did
that's,
turn on each other.
Been repeated repeatedly. It's a pattern that these kids are just too stupid to see repeatedly. Young kids are just too stupid to see.
I remember talking to, I've got a friend, and these people that just, I remember talking to, I've got a friend, a socialist in his politics. He's very much a socialist. I asked him to define liberty, but basically socialism. I asked him to define socialism, and it's basically socialism. And I said, no, you just described socialism.
Yeah, basically the people that are for socialism, they're just basically at people that are for socialism, and they want what the haves have.
It's about
people without having to work for it, and they want what the haves have without having to work for it.
And it goes back to the axiom of Walter Martin.
Right, and that's what we're seeing happen in America. So we need to fight this. Right, that's what we're seeing happen in America. So I want to finish to fight this. Speaking about, I want to finish the upcoming day runoffs. Speaking about, particularly the gubernatorial one.
All right,
runoffs. Actually, particularly the gubernatorial one.
All right,
there's a debate or a forum tonight. It's not a debate. It's out or a forum prior. I mean, it's up in that area. It's in that. It's out in district.
I know.
It's up in that area. It's
which is where the aluminum plant's going to go in. I know. Kind of on the south edge, which is where the aluminum plant's going to go in.
It's in Rogers County, but I cannot remember exactly where this is this evening. Yeah, but anyway, it's in Rogers County, but I cannot remember exactly where this is this evening. But anyway, Mike facing off against each other tonight. So it's something to look forward to. I'm not sure if it's televised or not.
I'll bet somebody will throw something on the web.
I'm not sure if it's televised or not.
I'll bet somebody will throw something on the web.
It's heating up. I'm sure they will. There's all kinds of mud being flung. It's heating up. I'm amazed at. There's all kinds of mud being flung. You've got what I'm amazed at touting the. You've got expert testimony or touting the witness of some accountant, and then I know a particular financial planner used to be on. Then I know a particular financial planner. They are very much in the Gentner Drummond. Now, the only thing they are very much in the Gentner Drummond. Now, at least for the financial services guy, I'm not sure the financial services guy. I'm not sure objectivity or there's some true negativity as objectivity being a or there's some in the whole area of financial as being a competitor, a stockbroker basically in the financial advisor, financial investment counselor, a stockbroker basically financial advisor, whether or not investment counselor. And so this person's motives are totally pure, whether they may have had a run-in, or this person's motives were totally pure. I don't know. They may have had a run-in. I'm trying to assert that some clients were just stolen. Very interesting. I don't know any because this is a Republican. It's just very interesting to me because this is a Republican individual are supporting strongly Gentner Drummond. I'm kind of surprised are supporting. So Gentner Drummond. I don't know what's going to happen. So they've tried to I don't know what's going to happen. In particular, they've tried to pin two things in neck, particular, and one is around all the way back to 2016. And there was one is all the way back to 2016. Some state legislation. And there was a state bill proposed some state legislation Oklahoma into Oklahoma Electoral College. Just basically what is it, a plurality electoral college? Well, a popular vote. Just basically what is it, a plurality electoral to the popular vote? So anyway, whoever gets the most of the electoral to the popular vote. So anyway, whoever gets the most, all the. I think that's what we do now, isn't it? Most votes. There's something they want to take us away from the electoral college. So it'll be in other words, they want to take us away from the electoral college. So it'll be in other words, it becomes whoever wins. That's it. The most votes in America now. Okay. If we had followed whoever wins the popular votes in America, Clinton would be if we had followed the popular vote, Hillary Clinton would be I'm not sure about this last time. I think Biden was beaten so soundly. I'm not sure about this last time. I think Biden was beaten so soundly. There is always the danger and risk even the popular vote he lost. With California, New York, there is always the danger and risk that these major California, New York, out of votes, Illinois, that these major states, Colorado, they could overwhelm the rest of the states. And so that's why I'm against that, and we should all be against that. So that's why I'm against that. Republicans and people that I know against that, and there's several. Republicans and people that I know we're getting the full details of what pushing for this, but I don't think we're getting the full details of what we've got to continue to keep. It's amazing what the founding fathers we've got to continue to keep, and we're amazing what the founding fathers foresaw, protected, and we're able to put into our Constitution. Free nation that have protected this nation. Gentner Drummond, the free nation. Two things, as I said. Anyway, the Gentner Drummond plan has two things.
He actually filed a lawsuit to put a halt to it.
Plant.
He actually filed a lawsuit to put a halt to it.
Right. Of course, his big deal. And then the other one I'm talking about earlier. Just going back to 2016. Mike's deal there. Talking about just going back. Here's the thing, and it's funny because I shut this person down. Here's the thing, and it's funny because I shut this person down. I said, Gentner Drummond has given us nothing. I said, if you look at his ads, what has he promised? Given us nothing. He's promised nothing. If you look at his ads, what has he promised? Positive. And then he did promise finally yesterday. Attack.
Yeah.
Thing came out. He did finally yesterday, but he doesn't say. Thing came out how he's going to do it. He's promised basically nothing. Say, in fact, I just did a Facebook post. He's promised basically nothing. Selling airware. In fact, I just did a Facebook post. If you know, back in the late 90s, airware and software was the big thing. You know, back in the late 90s, and software was the big thing. You know, you had Windows and you had all these different serve and companies out there selling software. I mean, software was the big thing. And I bought a couple of programs out there selling software. I mean, software was the big thing. And I bought a couple of programs that didn't do what Windows did. Worthless. It didn't do anything more. But people were hawking this. Windows did. The term was Microsoft coined. But people were hawking this, and it's just air. They're promising air, coin, and there's nothing there. Airware. So that's what I see. They're promising air, Drummond. And he's promising nothing. He won't stick his neck out and say, I'm going to do He's promising nothing. He won't stick his neck out and say, I'm going to do this. He hasn't done this. Where Mike has actually put concrete state. And they're attacking his financial plan. Mike has actually put concrete that, and they're attacking his financial plan. He's put a plan out.
To that point, on
not work or whatever. But
Monday,
he's put a plan out.
To that point, KOTV Channel 6 and
Monday,
Channel 9 are doing another forum.
Right.
And evidently that's going to focus on economic. They're doing another forum.
Right.
And evidently that's going to focus on economic. Of course, my whole thing, that's unanswered so far. Of course, my whole thing is he planning that's unanswered put a sales tax on services? Is he planning I was at my dentist this week and I said, watch out. I said, doesn't matter who my dentist this legislature's going to take up a watch move. Out. I said, doesn't matter who wins next January, legislature's going to take up a move. Ends this next January, February, but to expand the sales tax, income tax, and it's one of the most horrible things. It's going to hurt people of lesser means way more things. It's going to every businessman who provides any service is going to be an unpaid tax collector who's going to be on the hook. Is going to be an unpaid tax collector who's going to be on the hook money that he's holding to send to the state. From him,
but isn't that essentially
to send to the state.
Like a consumption tax? But isn't that essentially? So what is wrong with that? So what I'm getting at is So what is wrong with taxing goods? What I'm getting at is when you're talking about you're only being taxed goods on services on what you produce.
I have a problem with
on making what you produce.
I have a problem with the unpaid tax collector making he has all the responsibilities and gets nothing out of it.
Well,
but he has all the responsibilities and gets nothing out of it.
When you do business and you add taxes to whatever you do business, you have to do that anyway. Add taxes, certain services you don't do, but you have to do that anyway. That's forgetting service you don't. The aspect over here that same businessman forgetting when not the aspect over here that same businessman
the person who makes passive income, right? Well, basically, the person who makes passive income,
they're not doing it now.
Basically, not pay any taxes.
Passive income. They're not doing it now.
You have to report it on your 1040 form.
Depends on what it is.
You have to report it on your 1040 form.
Because they've got it sheltered and all of this. And
I'm not talking about all the shelters. I'm just talking about the basics of all of this. Look, I'm not talking about all the shelters. I'm just talking about the basics of it's an income tax. Whether it's capital gains, that's at a different rate. Else you do, it's an income tax. What I'm saying is anything else you do, what I'm saying is your company, okay, fine, your W-2s, what your 1099s, everything, you won't pay taxes on your W-2s, but at least you have write-offs, everything, you won't pay taxes on that. But at least you have massive inflationary push of adding another 9% to the cost of all goods. Push of adding another, including your doctor and your lawyer and your plumber.
But you're taking away,
including your doctor and your lawyer and your plumber.
That you're taking away.
I understand that. There are going to be winners in that and losers in that. I understand that. There are going to be winners in that and very rich.
Yeah, you have winners and losers in that.
Windfall. The very rich.
I don't think they can get any bigger windfall than they already have. If anybody were to be hurt, any bigger, and I wouldn't worry about the wealthy. If anybody were to be hurt, you can't hurt them. I wouldn't worry about the wealthy. You would hurt those that are wanting to become rich. You can't hurt them. Wanting to become wealthy. You would hurt those that are wanting to become rich.
And I'm telling you, when you're taxing off the top,
that's who ends up.
And I'm telling you, when you're taxing lawns for a living,
right?
Okay, all of a sudden, if I mow lawns go up, living, right? All of a sudden, all my prices go up. I've got another. It's sales tax.
Okay,
and then I've got to. If we expand sales tax to include all services. If now to go to the dentist, go to the doctor, include all services, plumber, attorney, anything, to go to the dentist, go to the everything, it's going to go up another 9%. That's a massive bill. Everything, it's going to go up another 9%. That's a massive.
What is it? 11%. Whatever you're buying, you're not paying that. When you go shopping, 11% now.
It's about 9-10% in most areas of the state. Yes, you are paying. It's about there will still be a sales tax, Eddie. Yes, it's going to be a lot bigger. There will still be a sales tax, Eddie. It's going to be on services. A lot bigger because now it's not just on goods.
Right.
It's going to be on services.
I'd rather it be on services than on consumption tax. But I'd rather it be on services than on consumption tax. when I'm eating,
you're not going to lose.
When I'm drinking,
you're not going to win anything on the consumption of items. You're not going to
that's
win
still going to be there.
Sales tax will still remain according to the Mazie plan and other plans like it. Sales tax will still remain according to the Mazie plan and other plans like it.
I got you. Right.
They're going to get rid of income tax, which is 3% of what's left after you get all your deductions, all your credits, everything else. What's left after you get all your deductions, all your credits, everything else. And what I'm saying
the cost
is
of goods sold,
going to be
all these things
change. It's going to have impacts that it's just going to be
a lot of people realize.
Change. It's going to have impacts that I don't think a lot of people realize.
Okay, so all right, so we're going to take away the income tax. Going back through this. So we're going to take away and the sales tax is still okay.
That's on goods are going to be there, and now it's going to also be on all services. Goods are going to be there, and now it's going to also be on all services.
Well, it depends on what the goods are. But
groceries we recently exempted half of it.
Well, groceries
we recently exempted
the local communities still get
roughly half in most communities. If you're paying 9%, probably 4.5% in most communities is local. If you're paying 9%, probably 4.5% is local. The other 4.5% was state.
So if we can get rid of the other, we get rid of that adds back 4%, 4.5% income, or what we get, that adds back 4%.
Yeah,
unless you don't eat income.
If we did get rid of that, income tax at the highest level, if we did get rid of that, mega rich income tax at the highest level, just mega rich get a 3.5% currently income tax. That's after you deduct everything else. 3.5% currently income tax. That's after you deduct everything else. Will pay. And the sales tax and all their doctor's bills, dentist bills, lawn mowing, sales tax, every plumber service, electrician's bills, lawn mowing, all those, every plumber service, electrician are going to go up immediately 9%. All those costs
I want to hear
are going to go up immediately 9%.
Well, before I want to hear, because I want to hear talking to Mike, look at the full plan before I decide. Because in talking to Mike, his name is a young kid, guy. Anyway. As I understand, they sat down and worked through this anyway. And as I understand, they sat down because it wasn't actually Mike's initial idea, and he had wanted a partial. It wasn't actually Mike's initial idea. He had wanted a partial, which is getting rid of the rest of the state income tax. They apparently sat down and worked through this, to where it actually comes out. They apparently sat down and worked through this. I'd like to see the full plan comes out as beneficial.
Rob Sellers.
I'd like to see the full plan.
Financial guy at Rob Sellers. The financial guy at. He told me last winter I was putting up lights for him in public affairs. He says, "Yeah," and I said, "Boy, that is going to be a fight." Putting up lights for him because I watched the legislature. Boy, that is going to be a fight against Mary Fallon. I watched the legislature in 17. Lieutenant Governor Todd Lamb resigned from her cabinet over the issue. In fact, Lieutenant Governor Todd Lamb resigned from her cabinet over when Mike was in here. That was the issue where he and I got into quite a debate. When Mike was in here, he eventually says, "No, that was the issue where he and I got into quite a debate." And tell me how, says, "No, it's not going to." He wanted to drop the subject, and we got on and on this, and we left it alone. Drop the subject, but whether it's Mike on this, whether it's OCPA, whether it's the Speaker of the House, whoever's going to push OCPA, I'm going to fight him on that. The Speaker of the House, whoever's going to go, and I think the Democrats will win the argument. I don't think that's the way to go on that. I think the Democrats, because if you remember when the Democrats finally did sign on in 2018, if you remember when the Democrats finally did sign on in 2018 to something, it was something that didn't poor middle class hit in sales taxes much. And it was a little heavier on the oil sales taxes and the petroleum industry. And it was a little heavier on the oil production. Said, we decided that was something we could support. Once they saw that, Eric Proctor said, we decided that was something we could support.
Which is what basically, to me, typical class what you're saying, which
is a real thing.
It's okay for these people to pay more.
It's a real thing.
It's okay, and I'm not just talking more because they make more. But percentage-wise, and I'm not just talking more because they carrying a larger burden. Percentage-wise, they would end up being
and let's go to
larger burden
age
than
on
the
this.
average citizen.
And let's go to age pay less in income tax. The older people, it's the young families get hit harder less in sales income tax
because they're the ones.
But
who
I think
working.
it's the young families get hit harder. This isn't about working. This is consuming.
They're the ones consuming. But
they got kids. They got to take to the doctor. This is consuming.
But again, they're the ones that are working.
They got kids. They got to take to the doctor. The older folks are still making income. The reason why
it's passive income.
The older folks are still making income. The reason why
it's passive income. See, okay, right.
So
Trump just got rid of. Taxing Social Security. So Trump just got rid of.
Partially did.
Taxing Social Security.
No. He partially did. That was the selling point. No tax Social Security, no tax on tips. Both of them have selling point. No tax Social Security, no tax on tips. They do. Both of them have limits.
But what are the limits? Where do they begin?
In the code.
See, that's another issue. But what are the limits? Where do they begin? Maybe on the same side. That's another issue that I think we're probably right now. Maybe on the same side. You only pay Social Security 15% of up to $135,000. You only pay Social Security 15%.
That's what we call the payroll tax, the withholding. Well, that's what Trump was talking about. Payroll tax.
I know. I want to stay where we are. So right now, I want to stay where we are. Okay. You pay no taxes. So right now, above $135,000, you pay no taxes.
Yeah.
Okay. I've been advocating. To me, you need to raise that limit.
Yeah.
I've been advocating because that would keep Social Security solvent. Well, these people aren't going to really need it. That would keep Social Security solvent or benefit from it. So why should they have to pay into it? Because if you have Social Security, so why should they have to pay into it? Needs to because if you have Social Security, 100%.
This is us in 2020. Oh, I understand. Discussing a concept. This is us in 2020. In a very different world, 100 years ago. That was back then. They had a very different world 100 years ago. Back then, income tax, and it was only the super rich. The middle class didn't really start paying federal income tax until about World War II. The middle class didn't really start paying federal income tax until about World War II and after. The real taxes that were taken out of our checks. So they didn't even call it real taxes that were taken out of our checks. It was they didn't even call it a tax paid. Mm-hmm. It was Social Security was looked at as a pension plan paid. Right. Mm-hmm. And they did Social Security was looked at as a pension plan. To mandate and they everybody to have a modest pension plan that the government ran. And that's why they said modest pension plan. We are just going to, and that's why they said make it so you have a modest one. We're just going to, you can invest beyond that. Make it so you have a modest one. And you can invest took all that money that you could have invested in a much better pension plan. It took all that money that you could have invested in a much better pension plan. They said, okay, we're going to mandate your first. That's the reason why X amount of dollars. They said, okay, we're going to mandate your first pay into X amount of dollars a year, and beyond that, we weren't paying. That wasn't our business by proportion. And now, beyond that, we're looking at that wasn't our business, just a social program. Now we're looking at it. Why are the rich exempted from social program? So and we're saying why are the rich exempted from social programs?
So exactly. So I want to use that.
I'm just saying that's why.
Right. So exactly. So I want to use that. Sounds like you're okay about exempting them. I assume sounds like you're okay about $135,000 max.
If it was a pension plan anymore, if it was
$135,000 max.
If it was reality, it's socialism now. And in your argument, in reality, if we look at it as a socialism now. And your argument makes sense if we look at it as a socialist,
social or other program. Well, they're escaping paying social or other program, $35,000 their income, escaping,
and yet they're paying more in than I am.
$35,000 in income, right?
And yet they're paying more in than I am.
It ends up
percentage-wise, but in real tax dollars, the guy make 120. Percentage-wise, but in real tax dollars, the guy make 120 is putting in a lot more than the guy making 60.
Basically, we have this percentage, but that's because basically, so we have this percentage. If we look at of your income, okay, Maisie's talking about. So if we look essentially is the same thing. Yeah, Maisie's talking about, and so it essentially the only reason I can see and so being upset about it is if you're the only reason I can see. And you don't want to pay upset about it taxes. Is if you're down at the lower
I'm just saying
rank
it's going to hit hard.
Taxes.
The working poor and middle class. It's going to hit hard to put more into
the working poor and middle class
sales tax services. To put more into and hitting them sales tax the current services.
Maybe it'll do everybody a favor because we have a whole lot of fat children out there. Maybe it'll do everybody a favor because we have a whole lot of fat children out there.
You and I both know the inflationary effect of this is going to be massive. You and I both know the inflationary effect of this.
Well, I don't know. I don't see it as being mad. In fact, I see it probably as I don't know. I don't
if
see
you
it
raise,
as being
no,
mad.
Eddie,
in fact,
if you
I see
raise
it probably as the opposite.
If you raise, Eddie,
doctor,
if you
all
raise
services, plumbing,
all health care, auto mechanic, all that, if all those
doctor,
bills
all services,
that people
plumbing,
are currently paying, auto mechanic, all that, goes
if
up
all
10%,
those bills
that people are currently paying,
that's a big chunk
goes up
the
10%.
economy
that just took a 10% hit. That's a big
exactly,
chunk.
But the problem is
of the economy that just took a 10%
for those
hit.
Services. Exactly, but the problem is then they're not going to be able to pay those services. For those services, then they're not going to be able to. It may reduce the price. It may be deflationary. And I'm looking at it. It may reduce the price. It may be deflationary.
Yeah, how does the mechanic's cost of operating business go down?
Yeah, because the other person who's using the mechanic service is not going to use his services much. Who is using the mechanic service is not going to use his services much. So is the person who's using the mechanic. So that's what I'm saying. So is the person who's using the mechanic. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying make them poor, but I'm saying at least it will cut the inflationary aspect of it. But I'm saying at least it will cut the inflationary aspect of it. Pay less. If buy less. If at the bottom you're going to make less.
How do you pay less and buy less on this plan?
Then because what you're saying you can't afford as much to go out.
Oh, so you go without.
Because what you're saying you can't afford as much to go out.
Oh, so you go without, and somehow that's good.
I don't think you're going without. You just start what you're going to buy and take the service.
Good luck selling that at the ballot box.
What you're going to buy. That's never going to hit the ballot box.
Good luck selling that at the ballot box.
Okay, listen, that's never the realities of it. If I never get that, I'm making 50,000. The realities of it. If I know that I'm making now all of a sudden I got to pay, say 100,000, 12% of that I wasn't paying now before. All of a sudden I got to pay then 12% that's of 12% that I wasn't paying before. I got to reduce my spending. Then unless you're just crazy and want to, I don't care.
Just don't go to the doctor. Don't go to the dentist.
Unless you're just crazy and want to, I don't care.
You won't probably take it.
Well, you won't go as much. Let's put it that way. No, right now, what do we do? We go to the you won't go as much. Let's put it that way. You know, right now, what do? We go to the dentist.
I'm sorry, you're not selling me on anything right now.
I'm
sorry, you're not.
We come from different
selling me on anything right now.
I'm sorry. I think right now different. Mindsets on this, but no, I think right now, what is it? 49% of the people are paying the taxes. What is it? 49% of the people are paying the taxes. And so I don't have pity, on. And so there's some people who need it. They need the social benefits to help. Okay, now there's some people who need a large part of that 49%. Okay, but don't need to a large part of that 49%. Yeah. Okay. Don't need or little or nothing. Right. So, getting by with nothing. Yeah. Okay. I see this as equalizing. So the burden on everybody.
Yeah, but I guarantee you,
the burden
when your kids were in high school
on everybody.
Yeah, but I guarantee you, much when your kids were in high school output, you were paying in sales tax higher than you are monthly output in sales tax. Just costs to raise a family. You know, it just costs to
No,
raise
I
a
believe
family.
that.
And they're getting hit harder when it's a consumption-based tax, such as sales tax. They're getting hit harder when it's a consumption-based tax, such as sales tax.
Right, laid out there. See, we'd have to see it all play out totally laid out there for a certain.
Yeah.
If you got kids in school, if you got this and that,
right.
The details we'd have to see all the details. I'm just saying, just carte blanche across the board. The details we'd have to see all the details. Anything wrong. I'm just saying, just carte blanche across the board. Basically, what you're saying, so you're against anything wrong flat tax with basically what you're saying. So you're against that. A flat tax.
No, that's what I was going to get to here.
Well, against that.
If we did a complete federal and state overhaul, what I was going to get to here. Get rid of all. If we did a complete federal and state overhaul taxes, to get rid of all. The reason Mike Huckabee said that he supported it is the reason Mike Huckabee said that he supported it, where it's a means-tested rebate, and they would give where it's a means-tested thing. And the amount that they expect to the recipient to be hit with consumption-based taxes. That they expect them to. He said the other thing they did, consumption-based they would do is very first thing. He said the other thing they did, the constitutional amendment is very first thing is repeal because it used to be unconstitutional. Even allowed they changed the constitution to create it because it used to be unconstitutional. If you did a thorough overhaul like that, to create it, so they wouldn't end up hitting you on both sides. If you did a thorough overhaul like that, then where they wouldn't end up with the prebate, those two items, and I can support it. I can with the prebate, those two items, and I can support it. And you know what? I don't even think long term you need to do a prebate. And you know what? I don't even initially. You probably ought to. You need to do a prebate, but I think initially you probably ought to have something that you phase out on the prebate thing.
And I think we agree on that. First of all, my issue is by government, and I think we
agree
on
the real
that.
problem.
First of all. So that needs to be decreased. Okay,
that's
then
the real
I think
problem.
we've got too many people that needs to be decreased. Not paying to the then I think we've got too many takers and not paying.
And that's a lot of the argument for a consumption.
Too many takers and therefore,
and that's a lot of the argument for a consumption.
And therefore, unsustainable because it's unsustainable. I think I know it's unsustainable. It's getting bigger and bigger, especially with all the migrants coming in and everything. It's growing. It's getting bigger and bigger, especially with all the migrants coming in and everything. There's ways to adjust and do this, but that's why I think there's ways to adjust and do this. You got to do it by bringing down. Do it on both ends. You got to do it by bringing the cost of all the various different things, the expenses, and the cost primarily though various different things, government and then they're spending. Primarily, and, it just ticks me off for those of us that live in a certain part of Tulsa. And it just ticks me off for those of us that live in a certain part of Memorial on 91st Street. Have to travel between 18 months Memorial on 91st Street into we're 18 months half now of a 1 mile stretch. Fix half of 1 mile. Of a 1 mile. It's a mile, but it's only half of the road. 1 mile. And it's taken it's a mile, but it's only half of the road to do this.
Remember, Memorial
taken a
seemed
year
like it was forever under construction. Remember, Memorial 5 years seemed like it was forever. I think a couple years ago they finally wrapped it up. For the last 5 years.
And out here,
I think a couple years ago they finally wrapped it up.
Replaced. They keep throwing gravel and tar down in there. Already be.
I will say to you, the stretch in front of your subdivision, it doesn't get more complex. I will say to you, the stretch in front of your subdivision, they literally had to move a creek. More complex than what they had to do there. They literally had to move a creek.
No, they haven't moved the creek. The creek.
They straightened the road. The road was following the bank of the creek.
No, they haven't moved the creek. The creek.
They straightened the road. The road was following the bank of the creek.
They've still got the initial road. All they're doing is putting 2 more lanes. They've still got the initial road. All they're doing is putting 2 more lanes now. That's all.
So it was just a widening.
It was just a widening.
Well, when they're widening, they had to widen into the creek because it was right up against that creek. Well, when they're widening, they had to fill in into the creek because it was right up against that creek.
Wow.
Go up there. You live there. I don't.
Yeah, no, they haven't done anything. Go up there and you'll see.
You live there. I don't.
Yeah, no, they haven't done anything. 2 lanes, but lay half a mile. Yeah, a mile. It's just crazy to me that 2 lanes would take that. And most of the time you don't see anybody out there. It's just crazy to me that it would take that. And most of the time you don't see anybody out there.
For each step, that's the problem. Certain number of weeks they have to set aside for each contractor has sole rights to the whole thing. And if he has 3 weeks, but it doesn't rain, he gets it all done in 1 week. And if he has 3 weeks, but it doesn't rain, he gets it all done in 1 week.
Yeah, and you know, and if you say, "Oh well, we don't have enough money right now," yeah, and you know, and if you say, "Oh well, we don't have enough money right now," it's not about money. It's a flowing budget.
It's not about money.
Yeah, but it's
unless there's cost overruns. No, they already appropriated the money for it.
Yeah, but
unless there's cost overruns.
Coming up with the money that they promised. I mean, could that be?
I don't think it's that.
Coming up with the money that they promised.
They would be quick to blame it on lack of income. They would be quick money coming to blame it on lack of income. But John Smoligo did a great job explaining to me when he John Smoligo did a great job explaining to me when he they were kind of different than the county commission. And he says, you know what? If nobody had to drive on it, we could build a road in less than a third. You know what? If nobody had to drive on it, we could build a road in less than a third.
Broken Arrow able to? Well, let me ask you this: how or 3 Broken Arrow able to, or city streets in the time we have roads,
brilliant
or
point.
City streets?
Broken Arrow doesn't wait until the traffic's too heavy to be accommodated. Broken Arrow doesn't wait until the traffic's too heavy. They will widen while nobody's hardly on the road.
Right, but what I'm saying is why nobody's hardly on the road. Right, but what I'm saying is why is it 3 times? Why did they were able? We have not yet able to do 3 times.
Yeah, I'm saying every big project they've done. They've done before the traffic got crazy. Every big project they've done. I mean, the stretch that you're talking about outside your subdivision should have been done 30 years ago. The stretch that you're talking about outside your subdivision would have been 30 years ago. Should have been done 30 years ago.
But see, the traffic,
if it had been Broken Arrow, it would have been 30 years ago.
Right. But see, the traffic until it is now that you have 2 lanes. It wasn't that heavy, and it's until it is now that you have 2 lanes. To me, it's inexcusable. They should. Another thing. Let's close out with
I've got to finish up one last thing on the Social Security.
Another thing. Let's close out with.
I've got to finish up one last thing on the Social Security. You spent a lot of years in prime of your life, basically working for next to nothing. You spent a lot of years in prime of your life. You didn't get Social Security working for next to nothing. You came back here, worked your butt off, built an insurance agency, did a lot of things. You came back here, worked your butt off, built an insurance agency, did a lot of things. Retire with a Social Security credit and benefit. It's greater than mine. Retire with a Social Security credit. I admire your success. It's greater than mine. Oh yeah. Okay, I've seen the numbers. I admire your success. I did your taxes last year, and that I've seen the numbers. That's the evidence that it isn't a socialism program. It's evidence that it isn't a socialism program. It still is a pension program,
and it's a terrible program.
You have to earn credits. Overall, there's so much. I mean, it is so underperforming. If it was being sold as annuity, I mean, it is so underperforming. If it was being sold as annuity.
But that's the thing, you know. I've done this. I put the numbers down. But that's the thing, you know. A 25-year-old. I've done this. I put the numbers down and takes the amount of money. 25-year-old that they would pay into Social Security takes the amount of money. A quarter of it they would pay into Social Security 30-year term policy. A quarter of it, bulk of it goes into 30-year term investment account.
Yeah, the old A.L. Williams
goes into
spiel.
An investment account.
They were a lousy company, the old A.L. Williams spiel.
And it works.
They were a lousy company.
It works. First time I ever saw it actually was on. And it works. 700. It works. First time I ever saw it actually was on. But yeah, 700. Let's say you know, if you're able to take $200 a month. Let's say you know, and you take that $200 a month. 50 for a 30-year term policy. That 200 and you can do 50, maybe even less for a 30-year term policy at age 25. You can do, and then you take the other 150 a month at age 25. You put it into, and then you take the other 150 a month. Low risk, put it into investment, either an annuity or some, and low risk. If you're getting averaging 7% a year, and you know if you're getting on the other averaging 7% a year, And you could buy your own on the other end, and the other thing is, as you make more, you could buy your own. You actually put more, and the other thing is, as you make more,
snowballs.
You actually put more into your investment account, more and more and more. Because they're taking out 15%. Well, 7.5 of yours now because they're taking out 15%.
For me, it's both ends.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's right. You see, that's
for me, it's both ends.
I suffer from that, as you know, too.
And I only get credits on half.
I suffer from that, as you know, too. So these are issues we can agree on. And that we realize that it's a bad situation. These are issues we can agree on. It'll be interesting to see Mike realize that it's a bad situation.
My guess is Mike took something away from our little debate. My guess is Mike took something away from our little debate. Adjusted some of these plans because I know he has adjusted some of these plans since the campaign started.
But what bothers me on the other side, nothing Drummond, he is not our friend.
He's status quo guy.
He's not offering anything. He's just attacking this plan.
He's status quo guy.
As opposed to no plan. He's just attacking this plan.
I plan to vote for Mike again.
As opposed to no plan.
Yeah, my thing on it, and I plan to vote for Mike again. And both those things, I give it to temperament and competence. Gettner, and both those things have problems with his temperament. It's like he's angry at somebody all the time. He's always had problems with his temperament. He's always going after somebody all the time. He's always demonizing this, that, and the other. He's always going after someone.
That's the enemy. We got to do something about it.
My problem is, and I said this before.
That's the enemy. We got to do something about it.
Might ought to countersue. I said this before. Oklahoma, Texas Tech might ought to countersue. Now, Gettner, you just jeopardize our state financially by demonizing a totally innocent university by demonizing, and they were a totally innocent university because I think Texas Tech needs to sue the NCAA for failure to enforce. Texas Tech needs to sue the NCAA for failure to enforce. When this kid was an athlete, because if they'd been doing their job, the kid would have been found out. He would have got help. Doing their job, would be starting this year for Texas Tech. The kid would have been found out. He would have got help, and he probably would be starting this year for Texas Tech.
Need to quit rambling and wrap it up. Do you have anything else sport-wise?
No, I mean we were starting the NFL. I'm ready for football. How about you? No, I mean we were starting the NFL. I'm ready for football. How about you?
Argentina.
It's August.
One thing I do want to say, it's like all of a sudden Argentina.
Andy, we got to talk about this. Big fight going on in FIFA. Andy, we got to talk about couple days. Evidently, Jared Kushner's younger brother, just the last couple of days, was making this deal to purchase younger brother of an expanded entity. Was making this deal to purchase, which would have expanded entity of FIFA.
It's a separate entity,
and which would have it's part under the FIFA umbrella.
But that's a problem.
It's a TV rights under the FIFA umbrella.
But that's a problem.
It's a TV rights deal.
Directors of every program, national program, they were never consulted on. Directors of every program, national program, so they were never consulted on.
That's the thing. The European nations, particularly, did not like the European nations, particularly, did not like this. So it's been scrapped.
They will not participate in the next World Cup.
Came off of a great it's been scrapped. But all FIFA just lost all their credibility. A great event.
Well, like everything else.
And somebody has said that it's pretty corrupt organization.
Well, like everything else.
And somebody has said that it's pretty corrupt organization.
And that's what I think has come to light. A lot of the Argentina issues. And that's what I think it's come to light. A lot of the Argentina favored, and there were things not called. They were definitely being favored. Like Messi should have been kicked out of the game. Called where they did kick out other people should have been kicked out of the game. Less than where they did kick out other people. It's a tough less than I suspect it. In fact, it's a found out that in one of the games they fired a bunch of them. In fact, I think they found out that in one of the games that they fired a bunch of them. I can't remember which game it was. But they found that they were being paid or something.
Oh my God!
Which game it was?
Well, the Olympic committees had all kinds of corruption. Oh my God! Remember when they bought off? Well, the Olympic committees had all kinds of corruption. Obama went to pitch Chicago. Remember when they bought off Chicago? Remember Obama went to pitch Chicago winning the Olympic. Evidently, everybody there had been paid off.
Yeah,
and
it just
everybody
keeps
there
going.
Had been paid off.
It's crazy, and it just keeps the Olympics going. I mean, it's crazy. The world track. What is the World Track Organization? I want to say WTO. Track. What is the World Track Organization? Whatever sport it is, I want to say WTO, but it's not nationally. Whatever sport it is, the NCAA nationally have exclusive authority and rights over the NCAA. College sports. Exclusive authority and rights. That's what I've been dealing with for a long time. College sports. That's a monopoly. It's a monopoly. That's what I've been dealing with for a long time. That's a monopoly.
Well,
it's a monopoly
that we're not supposed to. Letitia James is going after sports gambling operation because evidently Letitia James is going after sports gambling operation. There's a bunch of things
so she's wanting to bring gambling to New York.
She's wanting
so she's wanting to bring gambling to New York.
Cut of the action. She's wanting
I wouldn't doubt that probably is true, but I wouldn't doubt that York probably is true, but it's New York. It's just the most messy in the northern New York people off the hook. It's your state. It's just the most messy. We need to do something. Northern New York people off the hook. All right, everybody. Hey, have a great week, and we'll look forward to seeing you. All right, everybody. Hey, have a great week, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week, Lord willing.
Happy August. It's August 1st.